Back to ECS, my name's Eback, and today, by popular demand, Elder Brain's gone. We've got Jerry. How are you doing? I can hear you.
Oh, all right.
Carry on.
My producer's trolling me, guys.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly audible, and he's just saying, "Oh, you can't hear me." All right. Well, I was about to say that I had a very, very itchy nose the moment the countdown got to 0.
Oh no.
So, bear with me 1 second.
Okay. Fine. We got. It seems we got both versions of the attire for the finals. We got fancy, just a bit of nice clothing, and then some extremely nice clothing as well.
Yeah, this is
from
what
Jerry
I call
there.
the
Bit of both.
Manatee.
Fabulous.
Snazzy.
All right, well, Jerry, do you know who's playing today? Because I feel like that's the second most interesting thing on this stream.
Well, I can tell you that I can read the bottom of the screen, and just as I say that,
Ooh.
it disappears. But I can tell you anyway, it's Jaegers and Team Manic. This is, of course, our semi-final 2. We're almost at the end. This is the home stretch. Eback, you've been passing so much of this. You must have an incredible knowledge of everything going into this. And
Just a tad.
perhaps, I'm going to call you out early on, perhaps a little bit biased going into this matchup.
No, definitely not. Not
Slightly,
at
no?
all. No.
All right, well, I'm sure that won't show. I'll be here to keep you on check. But yeah, Jaegers and Manic, two ECS veterans, basically. These lineups and these cores have been in the major division for about as long as any other team here, perhaps with the exception of Lions Creed, but possibly even longer. I think in Manic's instance, they've gone through so many different sort of name changes, org changes, etc. But Instinct basically has assisted. I think he's been around since almost the beginning of this league, even.
Yes.
So, yeah, almost 2 years now. But that hasn't prevented him from failing to get any silverware. Unfortunately for him, he's always just been a little bit below the top of the pack. So I think he's hoping that his time has come. That 2-0 over Machine Soldiers in the quarterfinals was pretty dominant over a really good side. So I think they could be dark horses going into this one, personally.
They certainly are of the teams remaining. Of course, yesterday, if you did miss it, Lions Creed, they fell at the second to last hurdle. Ex-Cyberground, absolutely stomping them. A brilliant performance. I mean, back and forth, definitely. But just having the edge in the end. I feel like... Let's talk about Manic first, in terms of the teams and how their chances are today. Because obviously the maps have a lot to do with it. We'll get to that momentarily. But you spoke about the history, especially for Instinct and Co., he's been here before. He's been to the semi-final with Lexaro, lost that out, and then had to play that third place against Lions Creed, lost that as well. He doesn't want that repeat.
No. He's had it rough in the past, and I think it's fair to say Jaegers have had it rough as well. They managed to make it to the grand final last year, or not last year, it was only a few months ago, what am I talking about? Against Lions Creed, and it was honestly an ECS classic.
It was.
I don't think I'll ever forget the moment Steno jumped out of a Villa closet through 2 players and killed another 2. It was just mind-boggling. And that map, I believe Demantas dropped a record-breaking 23 kills as well. So it was just utter carnage. And we won't get that again unless it's the third place playoff, which would be really odd because Lions Creed have dropped down there. So yeah, we're looking at the ban phase though right now. And is there anything that really stands out to you here with Cathay, Villa, and Oregon as a decider on maps for today?
Well, we've got to go through it in order, I think, because it's a very tactical one. You've got to be very smart with it, Manic, if you're trying to ban against Jaegers. They're very good at a specific few maps, and then relatively weak because they haven't played a lot of maps this season. They've only played 4. They've missed 3 out this season. They haven't played any Consulate. They ban that all the time. They haven't played any Cafe either, interestingly enough.
That's really
they haven't played any Coastline. And we are headed to Cafe first, which was a brilliant map during that Machine Soldiers game for Team Manic. They absolutely outplayed them. One of the smartest performances I've ever seen. Full stop. I'm talking any level of play.
And it could be that they've just been saving their Cafe for the playoffs here. They suddenly have an ace up their sleeves in this best of 3 format. And, you know, when you get 3 bans, then you can hide a map, certainly, for the playoff. You get 1 ban now, and you can bring that out against some opposition who may not be expecting it. And like you say, the result was close. It was only 7-5 against Machine Soldiers Academy, but that's Machine Soldiers, and they're a pretty solid side over the course of Contenders Division. And then they swept them aside on Chalet with the Momentum, which was bizarrely Machine Soldiers' pick as well. So it's scary. Manic is surprising us, not just with these map picks, but with the nature of their victories. And like I say, they could be the dark horses coming into this, but Jaegers, they've just shown consistency from season to season. They always manage to book their place in the semi-finals. They always perform very well in the best of ones, and then perhaps peter out in these playoffs. But I've got to say, even with Manic's sort of resurgence here, and the resurgence that they had towards the end of the season in best of ones, I still peg Jaegers as the favourites in this format.
Yeah, they certainly are. I mean, in terms of the games, obviously their late resurgence, part of that was due to a lot of their results being overturned as well. They lost 2 games that were changed to wins afterwards as well, which is quite unfortunate. In terms of games they've actually played, they've won 3, lost 5 this season, which is not too favourable coming all the way to the semi-final. They've got a tough game where Jaegers, they'll be pretty confident, especially on Villa, because these guys played each other recently as well. It was Playday 8. It's not like Jaegers Cyberground, which could well be one of those final lineups, which was on Playday 1. So that would be so long ago that things might have changed quite a bit, lineups or strategy. Whereas Playday 8 was only a few weeks ago, and these guys played each other on Villa. Jaegers coming out 7-4 victors in that particular occasion. Obviously, Villa is a map that Team Manic really do enjoy, but I recall that was the Playday that was off-stream for Majors, Playday 8. But I recall all of the players telling me it was a C4 hell, apparently. And I know that in particular because I saw that Demantas got a double C4 kill to finish the game. I saw it on the scoreboard. So I'm expecting chaos. And then, obviously, final map, Oregon. That's a Jaegers stomping ground. It's going to be very tough from there. But we're already going right on in. It's coming home. We'll have to wait and see. Jaegers starting out on the defensive side of Cafe. How can they mix it up with the bans here, Jerry?
Well, Cafe is certainly a very stock approach to the band. You're going to see a Thatcher, I think, either way, but maybe the... interesting. So, Flores, in case you're wondering, is not being played in these playoffs, I think. It's
what?
He's supposed to not be being played, anyway.
Is he?
Yeah, I think so. That's an interesting
one. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, either way. Thatcher, the second band. Whatever. Flores' rise to prominence is taking place, is claiming bans even in these games, it would seem. So, well, we'll expect to see plenty of Ash, shall we say. Yeah, the Thatcher ban, fairly sensible. He is that good. He can get banned even in games where he's not valid, not a viable option. Valkyrie going to be the first defensive ban, from Manic, and that makes sense on Cafe. She is very powerful. She allows these C4 plays quite frequently, like you mentioned. It can be a bit of a C4 hell on Cafe, especially at a top floor take. And then I believe we're coming back here. I'm not quite sure why. Oh, we've got a voice chat bug, unfortunately, so we're going to have to try and just resolve that with a quick rehost. It shouldn't take too long, I imagine. But that last ban, we didn't get to see. I'm wondering what that last ban was. I'll get some info from our production while we sort of rattle on. But the Valkyrie ban, fairly expected.
Yeah, of course. I think we'll take this extra moment to talk about Oregon, because we didn't quite get round to that. With map 1 being the biggest chance, I think, for Manic to get some points, at least to get a map, try and seal that. Then I think their better chance would be Villa as well. So if it's going to be a Manic win, I think it's going to be a 2-0. That's the best they can hope for, I would assume, given Jaegers' record so far. Jaegers, they have 2 wins on Villa this season in 2 attempts, and 3 on 3 attempts on Oregon. 100% records for both. They've looked brilliant, even across these, even for forfeited games where they played against Footprint. They won that and played that as well, even with the cancellation. They got all the rounds. It was still a very, very great performance from them in particular on that map. So it's going to be tricky for Team Manic as the game goes on in particular. So they need to get off to a strong start and basically do what we saw both teams do in the final, the other semi-final yesterday, where a team gets off to an incredible 4-round running start, and that's pretty much the deal.
Well, I think it's more than likely with Manic starting on the defense for this. Or sorry, are Manic starting on the defense for this game? No.
No, it's Jaegers.
It's Jaegers starting on the defense. So yeah, I think Jaegers are more likely to get off to the running start that we think they will. That being said, a soft attacking ban, you could argue with the Flores. Mean that it might be slightly more attacker favored. I'm not too sure about that, but it's still Cafe.
It indicates a slower play style because unless we get the mirror ban, that is a big important part. The final one.
That final ban was a Kaid, interestingly enough.
Ooh. Okay, so with mirror in play, with Valkyrie gone, which means a lack of aggression, they're going to sit a bit more within the map you imagine, the defensive side of Jaegers. There's a Nomad in play because they didn't ban her as well. Mirror as an option. I'm thinking passive, passive, passive for this game, which definitely favors Manic because as we spoke about, I believe it was me and Ryan. No, it was actually, was it me and you, Machine Soldiers? I can't remember. Might have been a solo. Was that my solo one?
I think it was your solo one. I haven't casted a game since like the very start of the playoffs.
I'm trying to remember. Round. I think it was Ryan. But anyway, in that game, most of my build-up was saying the fact that if the game is slow, if it's a relatively timidly paced and well-managed game, Manic have an advantage because they couldn't quite keep up with some of the more frantic motions and fast play that Machine Soldiers offered. But when they slowed it down, they played their own game, they were on top. This could definitely favor them ban-wise if we are sticking to that well when we get on into Cafe.
Yep, it certainly could. And I do believe we should be making our way back fairly shortly. But in the meantime, we can talk about Cafe in general. And you were talking about that sort of slow play style. Mirror definitely will facilitate that. A lack of a Kaid is an interesting one on this map because he has a lot more strength on the bottom floor than he does elsewhere, I'd argue. You can deny a lot of the walls that you would deny with a Kaid on, say, the top floor with a mute, which you're likely to be bringing anyway because he's so powerful. He'll also catch the odd drone. I'm thinking, for instance, denying the bathroom wall. That can help you defend around the corner, sort of anyone droning round bathroom to once they've taken the sort of pixel and piano position. So it's a bit of a soft ban on the top two floors. I'd say when it comes to kitchen, though, it's a big difference maker because you're forced into either using Mute or Bandit. You know roughly that those gadgets are going to be placed floor level. You can get them with, say, a Maverick or a well-placed grenade, whereas Kaid Electroclaws infamously very difficult to remove on, say, a bakery wall. And you get the added benefit of being able to seal off Freezer, which you really can't with a Mute or a Bandit.
Well, that also ensures you need the vertical control as well, which is usually gifted relatively early. So it's basically a matter of delaying with the Kaid that you'd have as that option. So on bakery as well, if you're getting in that close, there's still a Maverick in play, so they can mess around with it however they want. There's a bit of a back and forth with that, a bit of debate as to maybe they could have gone for a slightly more relevant ban. Same for Jaegers with the first one as well. Somewhat
Jaegers certainly could have gone with a more relevant ban than Flux, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is shift all over, and I'm excited to see what he can offer today for his team because he's been hiding strats all season. And, Jaegers, they've been a little bit bizarre. They've not been the Jaegers we've seen in previous seasons. The Jaegers that I fell in love with originally, definitely not biased, started with a very, very efficient team, did everything pretty much by the book, standard, but very, very well. And they did a very good job consistently. And they're a team that you could rely on. Whereas the current Jaegers, shifts come in and they've been doing weird and wacky things all over the place, but they've still got that core in there, pause being the absolute linchpin, the most important part of that team right in the core. Thankfully, they do have Demantas in, despite the fact that I was told he left. They've got him back in today at the very least. And that is a big difference maker because in my notes I just wrote Demantas has left everywhere on every point.
That could literally have been the defining factor for not just this game, but if they make it to the grand final. Demantas he was basically their hero for last season's grand final.
Definitely,
and it still wasn't enough against Lions Creed, but imagine him against XCGG. That could make a big difference.
That final was the one time where Paws didn't show up, I think, that I've ever seen, which is and it's definitely not emotional.
His speaking of pause, he's in the chat right now in the Twitch chat. He's saying he's trying to start a vote for you to do a Fortnite dance.
I don't know what that is. I've never played Fortnite. I saw the title and I'm like, that's spelled wrong, and that's the end of my experience with that game.
Fair enough. Yeah. It's I don't think it's your style, so don't worry about it. But yeah, so he's been basically the reason that Jaegers have done so well this season at least in the fragging department. His stats are incredible, as you were sort of relaying them to me earlier. 1.43 KD is actually insane. And
it's nuts.
It's the 3rd highest KD during the season. Off the top of your head, I'm going to put you on the
spot.
No,
that is the 3rd highest.
Who were the higher
It was
players?
Robbie and Runner in the other order. Runner at the top, 1.57, Robbie 1.54, if I'm not mistaken. Right.
So regardless of how Jaegers do, he's going to come up against a better fragger in the next match, potentially. So, yeah.
Well, Demantas is up there as well. He's 5th, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. They're both very high up there. And also in terms of, just in terms of everything, really. They're all getting a lot of kills. And Demantas does die a lot. Paws doesn't die a lot. He's one of the lowest deaths in the league. I believe he's tied 4th for lowest deaths in the league. Yeah. And given how many kills he's got, that is absolutely insane. So that is impressive. Big impact players.
If I'm not mistaken, Paws plays a fair amount of Jaeger as well on the defense. So is that true? Yeah. That's all the more impressive then, because you expect the Jaeger player to mostly be kind of further advanced, grabbing entry frags essentially, or killing the entry fraggers at least, and then possibly dying in the mid round and leaving it to the smoke. The stats, those stats speak to me more of like a smoke main or something that's clutching up constantly.
Just find it. It's 3rd lowest actually. It's even better than I thought. So yeah, good job, Paws. He's 3rd, and 3rd for highest KD, highest kills per map, and 3rd lowest deaths per map as well. Demantas, he's 2nd though for kills per map and assists in total, just behind Vapor, who's absolutely dominated the assists this season. Don't know what's going on with him. Good job.
Region, Rooney, I don't know. I haven't got the players stats up myself.
Let's draw some of the attention over to Manic whilst we're still waiting for this rehost, because Aslan, I like Aslan. He's a good lad in general, but also he has stepped in for the second half of this season and seen a massive sudden resurgence, and they can't be unlinked between the losses in a row consecutively at the beginning of the season, Manic being rock bottom of the league for the first couple of play days, and then whoop, up they go. And a lot of that is to do with Aslan, because he is the 4th highest KD in the league. He's got 1.26, 4th highest kills per map, and alongside Text Rolo, who is very reliable. He is just the gunner for the team. He's 7th on the highest KD, so we got all of the top hitters in here today, and he's just given them another option. I feel like Manic sometimes, there are a lot of good, strong supporting players, like Instinct. You got Sparkins as well, who can do a very similar role. But the big difference, oh yes, Shift! Shift is Big Dave, for all those who are not aware. And we got Robert in, who is new from Team Manic, hasn't played at all this season for Team Manic. So that's going to be a big question mark over this game. But it's more of an exclamation mark at the moment, and focused towards that clash pick.
Well, the main thing about Robert that strikes me immediately is he's got that Manic tag in his name, and it has been about 2 weeks since we last saw Manic in action. So I presume that this is, a mainstay, essentially, someone that's been at least screwing with them for a good month or so, trialing, etc. So I wouldn't expect him to not slot in. He's on that sledge roll, which at flex support, essentially, you need to be fully aware of all the strategies that are coming around from your team, because you're right in the thick of it. You're not at the front, you're not at the back. Oh my god, what is this run out from Demantas? You're an Echo, for God's sake, and he gets Aslan. Oh no, what? That's an early start, and the Graham Norton dropped in chat by Hazard.
Oh my, I've never heard it referred to as that, but I'm definitely using that in future.
I'm going to make that a thing.
I love it. Yes, I would like to see that. Anywho, great start for Jaegers. Demantas going aggressive with the Echo, and I've got to say, that's a trend at the moment. So many people doing that, even before his potential, maybe future change of the fact that he can use his cams after death in a very controversial move, but we'll have to wait and see for that. 1 minute has gone. Disadvantage for Manic, and Big Dave, it's Shift, playing very aggressive in Cigar Lounge. Could catch a man. Pings are going off. He might be naded. Yes, off he goes. Get away from there.
Yeah, that's a hot property now, that real estate. And now Big Dave, he can just flee back. This is the interesting thing about having a clash, is that you're slightly more secure walking across this no man's land, but it's very surprising that no one on the side of Manic is on that skylight position to try and punish that walk around. Tazzy beneath, inside of Train and Mining, you can see he's got this little rotate open, so he's clearly prepared to contest this position. Lands a few shots onto Sparkins, who's trying to keep him at bay, but really you need the pick to make sure that your players are safe to push into Piano above. And the Pixel player is still in place as well. Plenty of support from Bathroom too. There's a lot of resistance to this Piano push coming from Team Manic, and they are stalling out hard as we hit the 60-second mark.
Well, the thing is, they also expended all their grenades throughout that play, throwing a lot of them towards Hazard and Shift over on the east side, and none of them really doing very much damage. Jaeger's full health, full man count, and all the utility seemingly still in place. With the clash as well, 40 seconds left. It's now or never for Team Manic. They got to try and start this well, but it's been a very slow and stuttery start. The clash has gone downstairs to support Tazzy. Works, gets a kill. Demantas on the top floor finds one onto Instinct. Sparkins is down. It's all to Text Rolo. Finds Demantas, but in a 4 versus 1 practically, it's gunning skill or nothing, and he opts for nothing.
I don't think it was much of a choice, to be honest. He seemed like he was, done. Like, he was just done. There's no way he was getting it out of that. I'd like to highlight the clash, and I know you're a big fan of Clash, obviously.
What?
But the main thing about that round for me was that she saw value all the way through it. There's a lot of teams and players that might think, oh yeah, Clash, she's a sort of late round operator. She's there to kind of stall out a little bit and then provide the intel. But you mentioned it. She soaked up so much utility early on, and none of it came. Nothing came of any of it.
Nope.
It was crazy. No frag grenades left for the Pixel take. A lot of flashbangs left to burn out ADSs, but if you're not going to follow that up with any sort of explosive utility, then all you can do really is destroy the shield and force the players back. And at that point, you've still got the potential of getting to Pixel and being faced with a clash staring at you down White Hallway, which is one of the best possible positions in the entire game. So, yeah, the one thing I really want to see from Team Manic when they're faced with that setup, which will inevitably come out, presumably in round 4, is a bit more repel play, a bit more play on the skylight. Set up these cross angles. Don't make it so one-dimensional. I think the last time I spectated a cafe game over the weekend was CL Quals, and there was no one challenging the clash play, challenging the player on Pixel from the south repel window. I think that's key. As soon as you get someone there, it becomes much harder to sort of work the angles as a clash, and you have to back way off.
There are two things that are very nice to see right now. One is proficient Clash play, for one, and two is the fact that Jaegers are playing Clash, because a decent amount during the season. Last season, they didn't play Clash once. All throughout the playoffs, all throughout the league season, not a single appearance. I feel like I've had a little bit of influence on that, but Shift is certainly doing a great job. Hazard, he's stemming this very quick move from the attack, and down it goes! A triple for Hazard! Sparkin spikes, he gets one back. Sorry, Robert finds one as well. Suddenly, it's a 2 versus 2. This quick move, it was stopped only momentarily, and it has to be a retake here from Jaegers.
That is such a brazen rush, and Hazard has shut it down almost completely, but they still kept piling in. And look, Robert takes down the Clash, who was trying to get the flank on, allows Sparkins to go for the plant, but Demantas finds Robert now. It's a 1 versus 1 effectively. No, he's able to rescue the Clash, and now a 2 versus 1 post plant with a Clash in play. This is such a rarity, but Sparkins has these air jabs to play with. He's set one up on the bakery door, and that will mean that he's fully protected from any flank in that direction. He's keeping an eye out. The Clash is very low HP, so she has to play with shield up. Oh, down goes the Mantis,
No.
and now it's all up to the Clash shield. She surely has to whip out the SPS MG9. 1 versus 1. Don't know whether he has an air jab set on that doorway, but it might just be a bit
Shield
too
on
late
back.
for this Clash to do anything about it. The shield is on the back. That is crucial here, but Sparkins looks like he's moving in too quickly. Oh, comes off it! Oh no, he doesn't have time to defuse though. The perfectly timed rush from Sparkins should be enough to clutch out this round for the attackers. And just at the death, he triggers the air jab as well. Oh my god, what a close round.
Naum Groughton. Aslan. 1-1 is the score. Thanks to some great play from Team Manic. Very smart. This is the sort of Manic that has seen such a resurgence. They look different. They look adaptable. They saw a little, I guess, chink in the armor to some degree and tried to rush on through it. Hazard did stop it, but he couldn't hold back the entire team. He got 3 of them, and still Manic come away with the round, managing to get a quick plant down, jab it off. Great play. Jaegers might be struggling if Manic are keeping it up like this, because they've got quite some opposition, but thankfully for Jaegers, I mean, Shift has shown himself to be pretty competent so far in this game, even on a very flexible Clash role.
Yeah, and I like to say that he played that especially well, up for the fact that in the 2 versus 1 post plant, the Mantis was for some reason the front line. I'm very surprised at that. I'd have thought that these 2 players, Shift and Mantis, they have such experience and wealth of, fragging ability between them that they should be able to, they should not even really have to communicate the play there.
They shouldn't.
Yeah, I think that, honestly, that was a bit of a throw, I have to say. And Sparkins played it perfectly, but it was gifted to him very early on. I think being able to take down the Clash in the 1 versus 1 was fantastic, though.
If I know Jaegers, I'd probably say that Demantas had Shift muted, which I don't blame him for. Anywho, Team Manic, what can they do this time around? They've still got this very versatile lineup. Just have to do a better job with some of these projectiles. I feel like that was one of the main issues in the first round. And Jaegers, they're not sticking around on that top floor attempt. They're not re-attempting it, I'm not sorry, top floor, bottom floor site. They've actually instead. Wait, no, sorry, is that? Have I confused myself? No, it is kitchen. Sorry.
I zoned out, so.
No, I got confused. I thought it was reading, but it's kitchen.
Ah, fair enough. Happens. It's not the most turtley of setups either. They've gone for a slightly wider site extension, not afraid of the potential of a second rush because they think, well, they're unlikely to do it twice. That being said, we've got the same lineup here from Team Manic, so not telegraphing anything, which is key. The execution doesn't rely entirely on your utility when it comes down to a rush, and having the Nomad and such is just a bonus in the post plant, so why not run it all the time? We've got, instead, like I said, this sort of middle floor presence coming through, and the Mantis in heaven, who manages to take down Robert, but the opening frag actually comes from the Clash of Shift and Instinct, there to punish the roaming Vigil, which is absolutely key, because now Shift, he's managed to work his way back, but you have lost 1 body on that roam at least.
You're just going to sit comfortably inside of VIP, keep that ground as well, being able to back off to site whenever available. So many angles opened across, especially that coat check player as well. Open freezer. This shield as well inside of the site, opening across the other angle. There's a lot for Team Manic to combat here, and with only 3 players and time ticking on by, they've got to start making some holes, making some angles, or maybe just getting that first pick to give them a little bit more of a chance. I'm sure they're aware of it. Instinct, was that a look of surprise? I think maybe towards that freezer setup could cost them if they're not aware of similarly what awaits them within.
And what does await them within is a smoke and a clash. That is some tough resistance coming up from Jaegers Esports on this side of the site. And it looks like that is the side that they want to devote all their attention to. Aslan, they did
impact.
not prep for the impact trick there coming out from the clash, and now they're just going to deal with this. I'm not too sure why you'd bother breaching there when that's soft anyway. Aslan finally managing to remove it. Stuns the the Clash, but Hazard on the flank, whipping out the pistol, taking down not one, yes one, and what? Okay, we caught the back of a bikini attempt there from Shift, just going completely wrong, but the smoke is there to finish things off anyway. So, yeah, Jaegers Esports blushes spared at the death.
Theory V. Jaegers come out victors. They did a lot of the work in the early round. The roaming Clash, obviously a menace. I mean, we're getting a showcase here of how impactful she can be, with an emphasis on impact as well, tricking that breach before the push could come in as well. Just so much that she can do. And usually I sound like a madman because nobody believes me when I talk about this stuff, but it's actually all being showcased here, finally. And the 6-pick. What a surprise. Shift is going back onto the Clash. You play Clash, you win. We spoke about Lions Creed's plan. I don't know if you saw that, Jerry,
yes,
during the previous play day.
Wonderful strat book, yeah.
Yes.
I don't know if Google Drive had anything to do with it, but you would not be very happy about that.
Yeah, certainly. But Jaegers, I mean, I've told them time after time, you play Clash, you win. I've been saying it to everybody. Teams don't listen to me. Jaegers are doing it currently. They are in the lead, looking strong. Team Manic, they've been inventive in the past, and that won them that second round. What can they do to mix things up now that there's a reattempt of a site Jaegers have already won?
And we said it before, this site was so solid for Jaegers, the way they played that Clash to burn utility both at the start and to make it completely hopeless for the remaining members of Team Manic at the end. But now we've got this supplemented with the mirror pick, which of course made its way through the ban phase. And this just spells doom if Team Manic don't adjust to it. Now it's even more important to get those cross angles to try and nullify the mirror setup, and luckily for Manic they did manage to switch onto that Twitch in the 6-pick phase, and that will provide another possible out for those pesky mirror windows.
Early round, just had a quick gander at exactly how Jaegers are setting up. It looks very similar to the last time around. Just relatively safe, but with players extended underneath. Tazzy downstairs. Very little pressure on him last time, and that definitely cost Manic, and it could cost him again. He's got a C4 in hand. Of course, he has the shotgun. He can open angles towards it. Make sure any presence across from red, which Team Manic were pushing last time, is dealt with. So, bit bizarre that they're not going for that right now. A minute's gone already, so they need to make sure they start working on it. Just identifying what there is to deal with in the site. Mirrors as well, they need to start going now.
But they're getting the drone work done, and crucially Aslan, I believe, trying to protect the player on that Heaven Repel. He met with some resistance in the form of Big Dave, but Hazard manages to take out that one. We get a lovely view from the default camera at range of Hazard going for that run out, taking out not just the repelling player, but also the cover. Trade comes out, but Tazzy is there to keep the favor in Jaegers' hands. Now it's a 2 versus 4. Sparkins and Instinct left up, and Tazzy's still roaming in this pillar position. Sparkins has no real choice but to try and push down Bar and get the frags. He's got Instinct in tow, and they do manage to clear out that position of Cocktail, but it doesn't matter because Pause is watching from not afar, but very near. They don't check Freezer, and he just mows them down with that Vector, the high rate of fire, gifting him the second kill, if anything.
He's near. He's very nearby. Finds those 2 kills. Jaegers, they take it rather convincingly for that round. Manic didn't really offer anything up. That seemed like a bit of a coasting round. A lot of teams tend to do that on the top floor because it's so standard and you very rarely see any other setup than the standard. Even when you do have something like a mirror available, which is quite rare. They didn't deal with any of that. They ignored Cigar, it seemed, because they didn't want to deal with the mirror. But they didn't pressure underneath. They didn't pressure too much on the East Repel or anything of the sort. They were just challenged as well by some of these runouts, and Jaegers just on top at the moment. First dramatic point is that Shift has picked off the Clash for a change onto the smoke. So I'm interested to see what he can offer up now that we are over on a new site reading.
A little bit of a role shuffle. I think this is mainly because Demanta said, I want to play Oryx. And then everyone was kind of moving around. No, it might not be that. It might be entirely because they've got this reading room setup. And as you can see, there's a just cause for that Oryx. It's especially efficient at making sure that this entire bar is completely destroyed and makes it even more of a no man's land than it usually is. That long angle should work in favor of the defense as long as they swing well and they have a bit of intel to go with it. You see the mute jammer on that freezer double wall, which effectively forces any attackers that want to clear top floor to channel down these two lanes. It becomes almost like a MOBA. You've got mid, which is freezer. You've got top lane and bottom lane, which are bar and white respectively. And it's part of the attackers to do this. They have to clear through those very difficult to approach long hallways.
Interestingly, Jaegers, they've got a very standard setup here. There's not really going to be many surprises. It's just going to come down to maybe some of these early fights. When they get that advantage, it's definitely aided them so far in these 3 rounds. And I must impress the importance again of this map for Manic, because history-wise, everything in terms of the other maps, definitely, even this season already between the two of them, Jaegers won it out on Villa earlier in the season. That's where we're headed next. And Oregon, you don't want to take Jaegers there at all. They are very, very tough to beat. Manic, they all have studied it well, but this is a very, very good opportunity here on Cafe. Attacking side, they want to bring it even. There is no room for error here on the tertiary site.
We certainly have the opportunity to. It's 3-1 at the moment with 2 attacking rounds remaining for them. What puzzles me right now is that Pause is playing beneath inside of Mining as the Jaeger. No option to C4 or anything. In fact, only the single C4 from Tazzy available on this lineup. But he is in reading, so perhaps going for a slightly later C4 to coincide with the push directly into Cocktail. Meanwhile, Pause just lurking in this position, trying to draw the attention potentially of these attackers. But no one's actually droned him out right as of yet. Demantas holding from Maestro spot, and as we hit 1 minute 20, this speaks to me of a very slow push from Manic, potentially not even wanting to go for the cocktail control. Instead, we see them pushing into Train, and this early engagement, no, sorry, that's a Gemini replicator, Paul shoots it out. I thought we were about to get a very early fight on our hands, but it's not too far as Paul senses a whiff of someone inside of Mining. He backs on out, but Demantas in the meantime is slain by Robert, who is just peeked on out from Pillars. And this is almost entirely a middle floor push now from Manic. We're going to see a slaughterhouse come through in that dining room.
Yeah, the mining-centric push. It does mean you are vulnerable from Pillars itself, but there's a player sitting in there holding a nice angle as well. I'm not sure if that is Text Rolo, but he's got a nice position to hold his teammates' backs, and Hazard close to contact with these players, as is Tazzy, pushing close within the site to try and peek round and maybe find the first player, trying to get the plant down. It's instinct. He's very vulnerable here. But no, not quite yet. The first fight is Hazard, and he wins it. Tazzy wins his as well. Big Dave is down elsewhere. That's your smoke gone. And your Aruni. A lovely swing from Robert. He gets another Sparkins. It's down to Tazzy. He finds one in response. Aslan is down. There's only a few seconds left, and the diffuser is not in Sparkins' hands. He has to swing, and he does. Takes down the mute. So very close. The round there, right on the edge. But thankfully, Sparkins is there to save Team Manic.
And what a showing in that late round from Robert. Sadly, we didn't get to see the triple kill that he slung together so quickly. Caught the first one in Pillars and then just pushed into 90 and cleared up the bodies that were scrambling and trying to take down all of his attacking teammates. But the sledge was just better. And this is a very impressive first outing for Robert from Manic. We haven't seen him all season. He's a very recent addition to this lineup, and he's already proving his worth back.
He really is. He was a question mark earlier on. We weren't quite sure what he might offer today, but he's certainly stepped up well, and Team Manic, they've kept themselves in it for the time being. Kitchen service and kitchen cooking, though, will be a bit of a question mark for Manic, because they got away with it with that very, very aggressive move. It worked for them just about. A bit 50-50, comsi with that whole execution, but they did get away with it in the end, managed to win it out in the 1 versus 2. The second time, it wasn't convincing. It was a bit slow, a bit bimbly. They went for a very slow top-down move, left themselves very little time, and with all the setup that was waiting within, they just really couldn't deal with it. Jaegers this time around, they're not opting for the return to the clash. Big Dave instead going for the shift roll. He was very good on the roam alongside Demantas, getting those 2 early picks that really pretty much dealt the main blow for that round.
Yeah, shift finally returning to his calling and playing an operator that can actually make use of the shift key. Vigil at 3 speed, and it looks like he's already gonna hammer down that shift key, goes for the initial run out, and does eventually spray down Robert, the hero of last round, gone from the picture of a very quick run out from shift there, and that's good for Jaegers, obviously. They've taken out the sledge very quickly on a bottom floor defense. That's huge. No sledgehammer for you. And instead, they're going to have to rely on the patches of Aslan. He's already had to use 1, in fact 2, just to get these 2 hatches on the top open. So very minimal vertical destruction left for Manic. And yet they're sticking to this top-down clear. I do not think this is a good play. I think they should have adjusted to a fairly lateral approach, if you ask me.
Yeah, definitely the adjustment if they lose another man. They don't, though. They equalize it. Shift is taken out by Instinct. On another aggressive... Is he done the same thing, or was that a peek from the window? Not quite sure. Either way, it doesn't work out for Jaegers. Man count equalized. Manic, they do a good job of outthinking teams, outstratting teams, but sometimes they just can't outfrag teams. And right now, the numbers are all in Jaegers' favor. And even within the round, it's a 4-2 in terms of man count. Hazard takes down Sparkins, reinforces off the site. In you tuck, nice and comfortable. Pause all the way across in coat check. He'll be tough to flush out of that position, waste as much time as possible. Manic, 2 men left. What can you do? Demantas is still above.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a sign of Manic having completely missed their fundamentals here. To try and drop in top floor and try and clear through without having droned Piano is unforgivable, and they get punished rightly. So now it's all their eggs in one basket, and these are going to be some pretty frozen eggs as it comes through, as a drop into Freezer comes through. Hazard just trying to stem this push, and he's already aware of it. The call will have come out. The flank is coming from above. We see the blue silhouettes. Tazzy takes one down. The bullets rain in from above. Demantas is the one to finally claim it as he drops hatch and sprays down the remaining attacker. That was as easy as you like from Jaegers.
Yeah, very simple. I mean, they did what they did last time. I feel like we would have seen something like that if Manic hadn't offered something with a lot of variety the first time around on Kitchen's site. But they didn't seem to have anything else other than that one strategy, that one round of moving quickly. Other than that, their attacks relatively limp, quite standard, not the Manic performance that we saw from them against Machine Soldiers, even on this map in particular. And now they've got it all to do on their defensive side. Make sure they come out with an advantage, just the 2-round advantage, and then they will be sitting there on 6-all. They can obviously still take it within regulation, but they've got, I imagine, some even weirder strats coming out in response.
We closed off that round saying essentially that was Manic's loss. They really didn't do themselves any favours with the way they approached that, but it's unfair to say that it was an unforced error. Jaegers certainly applied the pressure very early on. Shift with that run out, getting the first frag, and as soon as you put a dent in the player count that early on, then some things are bound to slip by the wayside. My problem overall with Team Manic in that attacking half was a lack of adjustment. They didn't really find their footing, and the rounds that they did manage to adjust to the setup that they were presented, I'm thinking that reading defense, for instance, from Jaegers Esports, which was pretty aggressive on the top floor. Manic decided, yeah, we're just going to sweep in through mining, through dining and train, and clear it out, and it worked for them. So the rush as well, that was the one round that they managed to grab besides the reading push. So
Jerry,
clearly, when they do adjust, it's great.
I feel like we've missed a trick here. As we should have pegged this game, or like set it up as the kind of IGL wars, because Shift and Instinct, two of the most impactful players around at the moment in terms of throwing some strategies out there, giving it a go, and smart mid-round adjustments. It is a tactical war, but Jaegers currently just having that ever slight edge kill-wise has made the difference. Hazard, he's again opting for a bit of a weird move, and I think he's going to try and blast in across East as soon as it's clear. We have seen this from Jaegers. We've seen it in the past. We've not seen it necessarily too recently in ECS.
We saw Trextrolo force back from that Shaika position early on. Oh my god, what just happened? Okay, was the entry. He made the entry so early. That's it. This is the execute. Demantas is deep in sight. He manages to take out Sparkins, and Instinct and Trextrolo are the last ones alive. We didn't expect that. Instinct and Big Dave with the kills just there. Shift, if you want to go by his old name, What?
Ooh.
This isn't fair. I can't cast this.
Anything... Oh, wait, actually, no, I've got to put... Jaegers are saying, anything you can do, I can do better. Manic, go for the rush. Back and forth. There was a back and forth, certainly trade-wise that round, but Jaegers had that strong advantage right at the beginning. Caught them off guard, and then supported well. They had players rushing in across Cigar Shop at the same time, just causing chaos across the floor, and there's very little to do. Plant Jolly falls. Very nice open table. That's very pause. But there you go. Jaegers, they take their 5th round. They're 1 away from match point already here on map 1.
So, what puzzles me about that is that it didn't seem as though the rush was ready to go.
No. That's like I've having scrimmed with Jaegers in the past. Pause. Pause generally doesn't pay attention, but second shift, he'll just call it. Nobody's ready, but he'll just go, and then everybody has to figure out what's happening. And you know what? Sometimes that really does work out for a team. Robert taking a bit of damage. That could be a problem if he's playing Pixel. There'll be a great time for the Thunderbird in that position, but we've got to wait a little longer.
Would be. Interestingly enough, I was watching a bit of APAC earlier on, and there was a lot of dock play going on Contra. That, the sort of typical where you put a Jaeger in yellow stairs, and then the dock is in the bathroom stalls, healing them up from range. I was thinking,
with the sign on the door saying "Doccupied." Yes,
I like it. And Jaeger's just sort of sitting there getting stimmed as he gets fragged and flashed to all hell. And I was thinking, Thunderbird in that situation actually doesn't offer too much, because if the frags come through, then those destroy the is it Kuna stations?
Kona
station. I'm not sure. The ice cream cones, the lovely little suppositories of joy. It's not actually as big value as the dog. So I feel as though obviously she is so much better than Doc in most ways, but there are niche situations where he may be more applicable.
Ooh, where was that C4 throw? Was that up the hatch? Where's the Sledge's corpse?
That's the little icon.
It disappears, doesn't it?
It's the little icon, so I believe that was actually out Skylight to get that range.
Wow. Nice
toss.
toss.
It sideways out of red, which would be very brazen. But yeah, that's an early cat frag. And once again, it's a Sledge to go down, but this time Demantas obviously on the flip side. So now he's left just watching Shift, which is an interesting one. I'm going to judge players based on how much they actually hop on drones. And surely you've got drones set up at this point. Oh, Hazard is in, and he's killed the Shaiko player, but he's immediately traded out by Textrodo. This is a lot of very early aggression coming through from Jaegers, and now it's being punished as Textrodo grabs a second in a nice little chain there. 2 versus 4, and suddenly the foot is on the other hand.
Yeah, it's down to Pause, and Tazzy, surprisingly enough, Pause, the bottom fragger on the team. You don't get to say that very often so far this game. Playing a very hard supporting role, and then Tazzy on this more flex has really found some success. But it's a lot of pressure on these two. Tazzy's had an up and down season. This is one of those moments in the semi-final where they can just pull this round back. They get onto match point. Manic, they just need to seal it out, though. They take down Pause. All the pressure now onto the Nomad, and the position isolated, the utility lining up. Manic have all the advantage here with even a minute left just to seal this one out. Nice and smart.
Azzy in the 1 versus 4. I mean, at this point in time, all you can do is try and build hype to make it seem like, oh, he's got to hope he can win these. And we have certainly seen stranger things on Cafe. We saw a 1v5 ace clutch just yesterday. And Tazzy trying to do his best impression of Heavy, but he can't quite do it. Textrolo grabs the 3rd on the round, and the Jaeger will shut it out in fairly convincing fashion.
Yes, let's build up Manic instead. Let's talk about them, because a solid performance that round. Obviously, they were caught off the first time around. It's very similar to what we saw the other time round in the first 2 rounds. When the Jaegers were defending, especially down in Kitchen, which is where Manic are now opting for. This will be a test for Jaegers, because we've seen a lot of teams stumble here as of late, even during the playoffs at a very high level of play. So many teams leaving it too late, rushing in with 20 seconds left. That's one thing that Manic had in their hands, despite the fact that it was still a bit of a rush. You know, they weren't in the greatest positions. They were man disadvantaged and didn't have too much time, but it was a lot more efficient than a lot of other teams have been. Jaegers, it'll be a big test for them, as they need to make sure it doesn't get to the 5-4. They want to keep that big, strong advantage. moving in and trying to get this map confirmed as quickly as possible. Because if Manic, if they build up some momentum, it really could just surge back and take this map. It's still very much within their grasp.
Certainly is. We can look into this lineup from Jaegers and say that they're certainly prioritizing the top-down approach. They've got Demantas and Hazard on the Buck and the Sledge, so that's pretty much a must at this point. Big Dave or Shift, rather, on the Ace as their only hard breaching option, so they do have to protect him. And an interesting choice when you know you're going for the top down as opposed to Hibana, because you know that hatch on Frieza is likely.
Hazard does have a soft, hard breaching charge on the butt.
Okay, well then that's a good idea. So you devote that to the hatch, and then you've got those Selma charges left for Frieza Wall and possibly Bakery Wall if you want to go all in. So yeah, a nice lineup here, showcasing the versatility of that Buck with the hard breach charge. And I think, honestly, Manic, they have a decent sort of response to this, or at least a setup that they can use to respond to it, with a couple of C4s on the line. Sparkins setting up with that shield, which is pretty much becoming default hold now inside of VIP. We've seen a lot of experimentation in Cafe over the time, but now this is becoming the way to do it. And early drones being shot out for or against Jaegers. We got a yellow ping onto the Malusi. Robert's time may be coming to an end up here as he's slowly being swarmed.
Yeah, you spoke about the impact that those C4s could have given the soft breaches, and Robert, he's got to get down there to use it, make sure he survives on this roam. He's backed off to Reading, where he's joined by a teammate. Going to be a tough flush out of there, but Jaeger's already putting enough pressure on across the top floor to move players down. But Aslan, he's forcing Tazzy straight into the dirt. Kill. What happened there?
Very nice from Aslan. You got to go and support your roamers. Doesn't matter if your role is an anchor. You've always got to be there to help them out. Extrolo takes out yet another drone. He knows that someone's coming down red stairs. This is potentially an easy spray for him. But he's going to instead decide to back away. Pause does find Textrolo in the meantime. Not sure where that Jaeger was, but he was one of the roaming presences inside that or around that Reading area. Wow, no, it's actually a wallbang into. Is that Jaeger's body? You see, this is the thing about lack of bodies now. It's harder to see the icons for.
It is, yeah.
But yeah, I think that is the dead Jaeger. There's the blood spatter inside of Fireplace. Thank you very much, Cairo, a wonderful observer, for highlighting that. So yeah, man count even, but we are at the minute mark, and we're still not at a point where the hard breach can start to come through, although the soft breach above is starting to.
Yeah, still relatively slow progress from Jaegers. They have taken down the Jaeger, but those C4s, well, one of them still persists, as one is missed by Robert. He does get down there to use it, doesn't work out. Instinct still has one in hand, but he's sitting in bar, can't necessarily use it to put pressure on the Sledge. But this is the thing, Jaegers, they've opened the vertical angles, but there's no pressure directly to the site. All the players are just sitting there comfortably outside, doing a nice external hold, and there's very little pressure. There's a direct angle above the doorway for Kochak, but Pause is still down. It's Instinct from the bar who finds the kill. It's traded out 3 versus 3, but 10 seconds to move, and we're only just getting a breach. So much pressure on Demantas to support Shift as he goes for this plant. Nade toss, but Hazard is down in the corridor. Split presence now lost for Jaegers, as is the round. Fantastic play by Instinct in particular. Gets a triple for the round. Incredible play, and Manic bring us that little bit closer here. By round 10, 5-4.
Instinct was the mute that we saw at the very end there. Don't be confused by the SMG spray we saw from the smoke at the very end. He was killing the person that we saw creeping up Red Hall, looking towards Kochek, and then could play that long angle towards Prep. So it's a miracle he didn't even get a 4K, actually, because that last player, I believe, Demantas on the Sledge, just managed to survive past the 0-second mark, but obviously that's no win condition for the attackers. So lovely round from Instinct, especially with the positional play that he utilized there. We saw him kind of late in Brown Bar, and that's an excellent position to be as a mute with that C4, clearly prioritizing the plant denial over any sort of early pick. And that's typical Instinct, right? He's such a clutch player. He will always try and have all the cards in his pocket when it comes down to the final 10 seconds. And that's why he's the kind of person that we're always shouting about when it comes down to the end of a round. And
he's always alive for it. That's the main thing. Got the 4th lowest deaths per map in the league, and I believe the last time I did stats, which was back in EEG season 2, so 3 seasons ago now, he was the lowest deaths overall in the entire league.
I would hazard a guess that if you were to sort of take it as a percentage across the league's entire lifespan and look at him in particular, he'd probably have the lowest and possibly even the highest number of clutches as well. I feel like there's so many clutches that we've seen from Instinct. And I mean, it's a sad story that it doesn't necessarily translate into victories in the long run for Team Manic or whatever team he manages to have under his command. But right now, they're rallying. They are slowly catching up to this Jaegers Esports side, and they look firmly in control on their defenses, I have to say.
Yeah, well, they're on your defense, you have that slight more ability to just be a little bit more strategical. You can set the pace as a defensive side pretty well. Just delay your opposition, play your game, rotate around, be comfortable within your strong setup. And that really favors Manic with this slightly slower tempo in general, because they just have that lack of fragging ability in the same way that Jaegers do sometimes. And that's shown throughout this game. When it's been quite electric, quite quick, and Jaegers are setting the pace, they're on top. But when it's a bit calmer, when Team Manic are allowed to flex their strategic muscles, they've done a very good job of it. But speaking of quick, here's Jaegers, Hazard moving right on in. Very close to the site already, but two men dropped elsewhere. It's Aslan on Pixel upstairs. Finds a double, and that's a huge dent in Jaegers' chances.
Cycles back round to this bathroom position and manages to escape scot-free. No refrag, nothing as the double kill comes in from the Frost. A great one there from Aslan. Manic look all set to take this round as well, but Hazard, who had gone undetected up until this moment inside of Mining, is now giving his position away, but he's managed to grab Sparkins in return. So now a bit of map control slowly falling into the hands of Jaegers, but again, Textrolo is there to shut it down. This Jaeger loves playing top floor. He grabbed a triple up here in the bar defense, and now he's still got this bar to play around with as Tazzy is pushing down. Like I said, this no man's land can be so difficult to keep your back covered. Instinct manages to take out Hazard downstairs, and Tazzy finally takes down that Jaeger. But in a 1 versus 3, he hasn't got much hope, and it's Instinct to finally seal it out with a C4 from beneath. Excellent game sense, using that audio to his advantage, knowing that the Ace would have to push in through that double door and securing yet another round. We are tied, EBAC, at 5-5.
All the way back even. Manic, they've done it the hard way somewhat. Jaegers, they're really struggling on the attacking side. They've put together some pretty tame efforts in general. They've really lacked that impetus. Other than the rush round where they dropped the skylight, they've not really done anything. They've won the one round. It's the same situation. We're in a 3-1 and 3-1 on the first 4 rounds for each defensive side. They've both had that advantage, and now it's just making it over the line. Can Manic take us to overtime? It's match point. One of them will be on it after this round. And who's it going to be at the moment? You put your bets on Manic.
Oh.
Oh, no.
I'm so confused.
Yeah, that.
That's the worst part about having a player called Pause.
Yes.
Results in awkward things. Imagine having a player called RH. Even worse.
I mean, there was a GG's well played for ex Cyberground at the start of the season. He played 2 games. Yeah, we've had quite a few silly names. Other best one probably being Pocahontas.
What a troll! Yeah, Pocahontas. I mean, is
whoever
the
that was
out name from this season. Cool. Is it even worth having best name EBAC award this season? Like,
there are some very good ones. Last year it was really dull. Last season, but. I don't know. I've got a big list. Most of it being contenders this season, must be said.
Okay.
Don't forget to tune in for the EBAC Awards after this semi-final over in the final.
Yeah, that final's gonna be on Sunday. So
yes,
mark your diaries. It's gonna be an exciting one. We already know that Cyberground or ex-Cyberground Academy have booked their spot in that place in the grand final. And there's no saying who's going to join them at this point. 5-5 the scoreline here.
I will say, Jerry, though, both of these teams lost to them during the league season.
Yeah, I mean, didn't everyone?
Jaegers were the only team to take a single point off them. And just the one, because they lost to them in overtime. They just stole that flawless winning record.
Yeah, this is a side that has... they came in via the open qualifiers at the start of this season. So they have absolutely swept the board with this completely new presence. And it's scary. They were competing in PG Nat alongside this. Didn't have the best run of things, unfortunately for them. But they're showing their quality here right now. So, well, I mean, not right now. They've shown their quality against Lions Creed. They've shown their quality throughout the entire season. And Jaegers, Esports, and Team Manic have a lot to do past this match. They managed to get there.
Jaegers have a lot to do in this round as well. So much utility lining up. The triple Aruni, Jaeger, and Wamai combination. Alongside the smoke and the Goyo, it is delay from Manic. And they've done a decent job of it so far. Only a tiny bit of ingress from Jaegers. But they have started to put pressure on towards Pixel. The Goyo shields are gone. But Aslan still persists. He's low on health, but very much deep within washrooms. And with the Aruni gate, with the shield in front, I mean, tough to flush him out of here.
Yeah, this is such a disgusting setup, and I mean, it's risen to prevalence because of how strong it is. You have essentially that resettable Aruni gate.
Kairo's noticed. The Kali. So many long fights here. Will Tazzy come out on top? Well, Big Dave, he does the job for him before we can even get started. And the Kali is actually down. Demantas finds another. The revive should be able to take place. It does. A 5 versus 3 advantage for all the... Jaeger's in a very good position here. 1 minute left.
Certainly are, but Manic still have key positions. We're looking at this freezer position being played by Instinct. He's essentially trapped, but you don't want to trap Instinct. He is a rat in the cage sometimes. Sextrodo offering support from that top of White Stairs area. Sparkins at range. They are essentially expecting a full bathroom push here, and I think that Jaegers could really catch them out if they start to sweep through Cocktail, but looks like all of their eggs are in that bathroom push. Demanta's cooking a frag grenade, but it is caught by the first ADS. Second one will go out, and there is a player inside a freezer. Will that spell his demise? Yes, it will. Instinct goes down in a heap. Shift beginning to plant diffuser. Sparkin's been down at range, and that's it. Tazzy claiming that final kill in the kill feed. And a flawless round coming through from Jaegers Esports. They finally secure another attacking one, and that puts them on match point.
Yeah, having a lot more luck on that top floor in general. It wasn't the smartest of rounds in some ways. It was very slow, quite ponderous, but they just fought their way through bit by bit, winning individual fight after individual fight. And that's the advantage that they have. Sometimes they've been outstratted by their opposition, but they've still got that gunning edge. And Tazzy finishing it off in style with the sniper rifle as well. I forget what it's
CRSX 300, I think.
Yeah, very dangerous.
Yeah, to highlight the Kali there, absolutely the perfect pick for that site and that setup. You mentioned at the start the full shield, full catching lineup from Team Manic, and I feel as though they were a bit scared of the force that Jaegers brought to tackle it. They had as much soft destruction as you can cram into a lineup, bar and Ash, and it worked perfectly for them. They picked that defense apart bit by bit, and I think Team Manic, they relied a bit too heavily on the setup. They weren't going for the peaks that they necessarily needed to gain the advantage, and it was just a war of attrition that they stood back and took, essentially.
I think a lot of that was the work that Jaegers maybe have done coach-wise and behind the scenes, figuring out what Manic are going to do with that slow setup, because first time around, they gave it a very quick rush. Second time, they took their time, but they brought that Kali along. They brought operators who can soak up this utility, take their time, and win long-range gunfights as well. So very smartly done from them there. A lot of them spawning together. I don't believe we're going for a bakery rush, but I would not be surprised, as Manic have already offered it up to us this game. At least they're going to get started with very quickly either way and figure out what they're dealing with on this west side.
The Kali is especially useful here because it's one of the only ways, bar the Maverick, of course, to remove those bandit batteries or mute jammers in this case, the latter, from the wall with pretty much guaranteed success rate. But Instinct is clever. He has kept one in pocket, and he will be juggling it. So some extra denial potential here, and while Tazzy does have a couple of extra lances in play, I believe Instinct is actually taking the tanking damage there to try and pick it back up again. He does still have one in pocket, as I think he did fail in that regard. Hazard is being held back here by the presence of this proxy alarm. It's going to shoot that out. No one really playing prep window anyway, so I think the call here from Manic is they've got a lot of roaming presence. They have Robert above with these holes looking into prep. And they can just play this. They have the setup. They can wait. They can hold their angles a bit more passively. I was saying it was their downfall last round, but it could be the way they win this one.
Well, the way that Manic did it was they rushed in. Jaegers, they've rushed in quickly and taken the ground, but they have no scope of the attack, and all they've done is show their cards to the opposition. Hey, here we are, we're attacking from this side. Still winning the fights, though. Robert's down, the vertical angle, losing the fight somehow. Great gunplay from Hazard, and he's not done yet, quite. And now he is. Aslan finally gets the kill on him. He takes a lot of damage and pauses down elsewhere. Things not going brilliantly for Jaegers. Good delay as well with the smoke canister from Sparkins. Things very much playing into the hands of the defenders. It's a full east versus west, but with the vertical angle still an option, and men dropping for Jaegers. Everything going in favor of Manic, barreling towards overtime here.
Lost a couple of ones on that top floor, unfortunately, for Jaegers, but they have managed to put it back, Manic, with... Jaegers with that frag onto Robert. Now they've got a little bit of an advantage here, potentially. 46 seconds. They do know that there's a player above, and that diffuser is down right by the bomb. Paul's just waiting for a little bit of aggression, but he does have this open angle that he can contest. Mantas just swings in with the SMG-11 and finds Aslan. That's incredible. Oh my god, Paul's putting it back as Textrolo downs and finishes off the Mantas. Now it's a 1 versus 1. Textrolo with vertical control, but not the holes necessary to cover all the plant spots. Paul's trying to play this position, getting caught out by these ADSs. Now Textrolo has had time to reposition on red stairs. He's got a long angle. He can push quite close down and get full vantage over the entire site. The Pause is planting in cover from that exact rotation. This could be the play here. And now Textrolo just having to wait. Post-plant situation. Pause on such low HP, though. The Jaeger only has to land a couple of shots with that high-power carbine, and he could win this one out. Doesn't look like anyone has any intel. No cameras up, no drones. This is just a 1 versus 1 mano-a-mano duel. Textrolo takes a couple of shots, and he lands the crucial headshot onto Pause. That's easy for him now. Plenty of time to defuse. And Team Manic, they're pushing us to overtime.
That was map 1 for the taking for Pause. Great effort, but with Demantas down, just a little bit too much to offer. Some brilliant play from the Jaeger there to bring it back around. Textrolo brings it out when his team need it. All the way to overtime. Couldn't have seen it going any other way, really, given the game that we've had so far.
Yeah, and that was so difficult to call. I think at every point I was saying, oh, this team has the advantage and that team should be able to hold it. And at every point I was proven wrong. There was some sort of flip in the play state, whether it's Demantas somehow winning a fight, pushing in through prep, or Textrolo just coming up huge in what is essentially a 1 versus 2. It was just all over the place in terms of the flow of things, and people, it's just unpredictable. I can't handle it, Ebac. I like things to be predictable. I like my vanilla ice cream. And
you're not going to be too happy now, because we're going to reading as well for the first time for Manic, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, just gone top and bottom floor. No, did they do a reading midway through? I've completely forgotten now. My mind's gone silly. But anywho, Jaegers, they've got a tough lineup to deal with, and if Manic are right on it and they play, especially over by Pixel like they did last time, and delay as much as possible like they did on the top floor, they'll be in good stead. I'm thinking with Jaegers on the attacking side, though, that's a huge disadvantage for overtime, given the defensive strength that we just seen today from both teams.
Yeah, and a 4-2 split each way is certainly normal. I would have helped you out back there where you were struggling to remember what sites and whether Reading has been playing. But I was eating a chocolate cornflake cluster, so I apologise. It was very tasty. I can confirm Reading Room was played only once on their defense, and they did win it. So if you recall, I think it was the Instinct C4 to seal it out. It was basically a lot of work done on the top floor by Textrolo holding on, and yeah, Jaegers, they are adjusting now. It looks like they are positioning themselves for a rush, but I do believe that Instinct will have read into this, especially after spotting that early drone into sight. And I think the call is coming from those cocktail players. Make those holes, make sure that they can get the vertical angles.
Who's in the corridor? Hazard? He's in the middle of Reading corridor, and Demantas is right by the site. They both get a kill. 3 players left for Manic within the first minute. A very, very quick move. It might have not been the move that Instinct expected when he saw that drone. It certainly worked out for the attacking side, and they get more things in their favor. Hazard takes down Instinct. Textroller again here to save the day. An attacking win here would make a huge difference on this defender-sided Cafe for Jaegers in overtime, and they get the win. Hazard gets even more. He is going nuts today so far on Cafe. Jaegers take the 7th round of this game so far on match point yet again.
And the tertiary bomb site gamble does not pay off for Team Manic. Now they need to win an attack on bar, and that is terrifying. To try and hold on to map 1, I've got to give credit to Jaegers there. They caught me off guard. And I think having that sort of pillars or hell rush is all well and good, but the main thing that made it work, as you pointed out, was the incredible play of Hazard to sort of time that with a push-up white stairs that went completely undetected. And grabbing a triple on the round, he is really making sure that his team have the best possible chance going into Villa, which will be the next map. But they want to try and shut it out straight away here, Jaegers, because if they lose this defense, then they've got to try and pull another attack out of the bag.
What is this from Team Manic? Instinct going against the Lexaro ban. For anyone who is a long-time ECS fan, you'll know Lexaro during, I think, that season 2 seasons ago, banned Capital every single play day.
They didn't like it.
All the time. What are you doing, Instinct? He's betrayed his former teammates. Anywho, he's bringing him along. It's very smart. It makes a lot of sense for this top floor. I'm loving that cheeky frost map position as well from Demantas inside of Cigar. That could catch somebody off later on. And, that's a great position. A good duo is actually the frost and the clash, because players they'll be so busy looking at you. And sometimes they've got that visual zap where they can't quite see, and they could be caught off by things like that. Anywho, the Capital should be instrumental in helping any sort of plant move. Will it be a quick one? Maybe a rush move? I feel like that might be one of the better chances for Team Manic, but could they dare risk it on this overtime match point? I don't think so.
Be back. I want to ask you a question.
Oh, go on then.
What is missing from this attacking lineup?
Kills.
Well, yeah, but
they're almost all negative. They are all negative.
I meant the operator choice.
Yeah, okay. Hard breach, I guess.
We've got
you don't
one
really need
hard breach charge on Instinct, which presumably is going to be used to open that piano rotate. And then beyond that, nothing to deal with a setup in bathroom or in freezer. Nothing to try and take down those mirror windows at range, say the Selma or the X-Kairos. It's very much all in on the execute utility and the soft destruction. So
it's specific. It's not vague in terms of an operator lineup. It's not general. It's very specific to help them, but it's not specific to deal with what they've got lined up. Demantas instead dealing with Robert. Good start for Jaegers. Get that man advantage. They've wasted almost half the round already, but it's been wasted for them by Manic's very slow move. They do have that single breach across into Cigar, but how much good will that do them? They've got to start gunning now.
Manic just aren't doing themselves any favors here. First bolt comes out. Now the pressure can begin to mount onto that pixel position. Oh, Textrola, you got to win that. Demantas at range, and he will take out the third. Instinct goes down. There's the Capital out of action, and Demantas is tearing a hole through Manic right here. He wants to shut it out in 14 rounds. Aslan and Sparkins left alive in the 2 versus 5. Zofia and the Nomad, clutchable certainly, but difficult.
Yeah, I mean, a simple look at the kill feed and the kills in general will tell you a lot of this story, and it's down to the strategy of Manic to bring it back. Aslan, he takes down the killer of Demantas, denied. He wants to go for that 20 kills. He'll have a chance if there's another round. Manic will be certainly hoping that's the case. 40 seconds remain. The West versus East move, but the mirror's not quite dealt with. A lot of the angles still opted for, and jumping straight into a mat. Well placed by Demantas. He strikes even after death, and Hazard swings, takes the win for Jaegers. Map 1 Cafe is in their hands. Manic, trouble stations as we head towards Villa.
And that is Jaegers Esports in a nutshell. You can credit Demantas with all 5 kills in that round if you think about it. A triple from the Frost herself, and then the gunplay coming out from the Jaeger at the very end. Hearing that that Pog map trigger, and Hazard just goes for the swing, shutting it out in style, Jaegers. That was a very nice cafe from both sides, but I have to say, Manic did not make it easy for themselves, and that OT risk did not pay off at all.
I think they did the best they could do without getting the kills. I hate to focus on kills so much because I never do that generally, but it's because there's such a huge disparity. 18 kills, 10 as well on the second. And then your supporting players, I mean, Shift got 6, Pause got Shift, Pause got 6, and he was playing hard support, which is, I feel like in some ways they're almost missing a Pause that game at various moments, as he's not quite on his most comfortable roles, but it wasn't too much of an issue because they could just fight their way through it. And the strategy, when we saw it come out from Jaegers, just had that little bit of an edge over Manic's because it was quite blunt with their strategy. It wasn't sharp.
Yeah, blunt is a good way of describing it. I think it was just a little bit toothless. There were times where they absolutely dismantled the defense, and there were times where it was just nothing going for them. And it was honestly, on their attacking rounds, the only rounds they grabbed, like I mentioned, were the ones where they saw the setup and made a kind of really brazen adaptation to try and overcome it. And I think, honestly, Team Manic, look at that VOD and say, this is the strength that we need to play to. Because you have a really good IGL in the name of Instinct, and he's able to make these split-second calls that turn around on its head. You got to lean into that more, especially when it comes to the Jaegers map pick of Villa.
Yes, a faster playstyle can certainly help out. They'll need it on Villa, given its size, given, I'm imagining, all the kind of roaming plays we might see from Jaegers as well on the defensive side. Manic, they're going to have to step up in one way or another, and they have to do it now. They have no room for error anymore. They've lost the first map. Jaegers have taken it. We'll be back after a short break for map 2, Villa. Don't go anywhere.
Hello, all you beautiful people at home. It is the ECS semi-final number 2. We have just witnessed Jaegers Esports take apart Team Manic. Although take apart is maybe a bit of a strong way of putting it. 8-6 was a much closer game than we might have anticipated. But we are anticipating a slightly less close game as we are going to Villa and Jaegers. This is their map pick. This is somewhere they really like. You've got to start worrying for Team Manic.
I mean, you spoke about Demantas and his kill record in ECS, 23 kills. That was in the grand final against Lions Creed on Villa. He's just got 18 kills against you on Cafe. Cafe is not a very Demantas-friendly map in general. He has his favourite maps and then maps that he's not so good at. Villa is one where you want to watch out for him. And with the rest of the team gunning the way they are, it's a problem. They need to start stepping up in a lot of ways, Team Manic. Of course, they fought their way very, very close through some very rigid and very smart defenses with some slow attacking from Jaegers. They really countered that very well by taking their time on the defensive side. Can they afford to do that here on Villa? I'm not sure, because with Villa's kind of recent switch into having a slight more attacker balance, it's not as defensively, it's not a stronghold like it once was. I feel like that could be a big problem because Jaegers love attacking here. They demolished Lions Creed earlier in the season, Playday 2. It's the sort of thing you know that they can just roll you over on. So Manic, they have to start well and keep it up quickly.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that, especially you touch on it, the sort of attacker-sidedness that's beginning to creep into Villa. Manic, in fact, the entire ban phase is defender picks, essentially. Obviously, in case you're new to Siege competitive and how sort of ban phase works, you pick a map. That means your opponent gets to pick the starting side, and then you get to pick the OT starting side, with the exception of the final map, which is OT starting side decided on a coin flip. But anyway, every single opportunity, both these sides have opted to defend first. And right here, Team Manic opting to defend first on Villa. I feel as though it's... Well, I mean, Jaegers opted to defend first on OT, but it's a lean towards the sort of older style, that older meta. People still think they can rack up the rounds on the defense, whereas actually, I think you're right in saying that on Villa, the attack is really the opportunity that you want at the very start to just sort of steamroll your opponent and get to that, like, put the pressure on. If you get a 3-3 split, then suddenly you have everything in your control.
I'm expecting, at least on the defensive side, 2 bans for operators with C4. Given given the C4 chaos that ensued in Playday 8, we got some very standard, well, maybe not so much with the Hibana, but I guess that's to deny any pressure across from Study in particular. You don't always see too much hard breach focus bans like this on Villa, but that's the sort of game we are going for, it would seem. I'm just having a look. The bans last time around were Thatcher, Hibana, Clash, and Kaid between these two, as we've seen these two already play a few weeks ago here on this very map. But it looks already very different.
Well, I would be surprised if Manic don't want to ban the Clash, or at least if it doesn't appeal to them. They might come through with them. I don't know. It's actually
they don't have the option.
Completely different. Bans, then.
And with Wamai went half your strats, maybe. Well, yeah, as they seem to have done their homework. We'll see if that pays off. It certainly did on Cafe. Oh no, all the double psychology. Oh no.
Yeah. It's all in the mental, right? This is what you've got to do during these games, is spam all chat with as much stuff, ... unless. But yeah, I think the Hibana ban's one interesting one that I want to touch on, because she is, I think, a rather soft ban on this map. You think about Hibana's strength, and it lies on maps like Clubhouse, maps like... I'm trying to think of another one where hatches are especially relevant. I suppose Oregon, where you need that hatch utility to be at its maximum potential. Here, she's kind of just an alternative to Ace, and with Ace remaining, it doesn't really do much in the ban phase, so I feel like that's a soft one. The Mirror is a very strong ban, though. That's obviously, she's had a home on Villa for a very long time, and she enables setups that are completely unique. With so many potential mirror spots here, it's no surprise to see her gone.
I can only imagine that's a direct counter to Team Manic. That Hibana in particular. It doesn't seem much reason other than that, as the bans from Jaegers were really bizarre on the first map as well, going for basically a no ban with the Flores, and then opting for the What did they go for? I've already
It
forgotten
was a
in my mind.
Kaid they banned.
Kaid, yeah, of course, which was a questionable one on top of that. Obviously, I think this Wildlight is specifically geared towards Manic as well. They've had to bring that Jaeger along for the first hold, which will be AVG, Aviator and Games, for all those not in the know.
So, interestingly enough, you've got every single hard breach denial option available to the defense with no Kaid ban. You've got the mute being brought out, but obviously with a Maverick on board, there's an easy way to bypass that at all times. And to be honest, hard breach doesn't play nearly as much of a part on this map as it used to. Really, the only sort of crucial ones I can think of are the Vault breach once you get a 90 push going on AVG, and then the sight line that you want to create across from Master, and that can be done with a lot of different tools. So it's understandable that it just sort of comes off the meta and you see more interesting bans like the Maya come through. I'm honestly surprised to see the Nomad make it through the ban phase. She's super powerful on this map. And if we look at the loadout or the lineup on the defense, they've got a lot of drone denial here. A lot of intel gathering as well with the Valkyrie and those Grishmots, you could argue. Ooh, Shift so
timing.
close to nabbing a freebie there onto Aslan. That would have been really cruel of the Mozzie to die in that position, but he gets away with it, whether he knows it or not.
So many sneaky
C4. That's sad.
Yeah, there's so many sneaky roamers all around the place. Robert down underneath, as well as Aslan just surviving that wallbang attempt by Shift. There's a lot of options, and there's a lot of time still for Jaegers to make something happen, but they got to start pinching some of these players. If they go sight-focused, that's fine, but they still got to then watch their backs. Some of it, I guess, depends on Tazzy putting some of those air jabs down and locking them off, but that's not reliable because you could be split if it comes to a late move. There's a lot Jaegers need to start doing. Those air jabs are going down now from Tazzy Hazard. He's got a concussion in pocket, but as he's taken out by Aslan, a C4 from underneath.
There we go, another Graham Norton coming in from the Mozzie after that. And still 1C4 left. Instinct has one in pocket as the mute. We can see Shift beginning to try and apply pressure. Oh, that's lovely. That was a kill from beneath into bar to take out Aslan. So nice refrag. And he's trying to nade the shield position known by his team. But Robert comes in to save the day. Or, well, the frag goes off anyway. And Shift is just left wondering if only he'd been a little bit more accurate with that grenade. We have now got a 3 versus 4. Angle opened up by Pause, but no potential to create a walkable hole means that they're just going to have to channel through these two very small doorways. Tazzy and Pause lining up here to try and take the gunfights into Aviator.
Yeah, the jab on the door is well poised for a post plant, and Robert's all the way back on the site. They don't have to worry about that pinch. It does mean they still have to get the plant down. There's no C4 for him, but Instinct has one. He's across the way. All he needs to do is toss it over this rotate. The fuse is there, and here comes a move across. Oh, it's a horrible position for Demantas. He's down. The plant is being covered by Pause, but he can't. Oh, no, he can't about do it. Takes down Robert, but there's 4 players collapsing on his position, one of which has the FO12. The Ella seals around for Manic, and it's a good start here on Villa.
Great usage of that FO12, as you say. I mean, we're so used to seeing Smokes in that final position, playing that corner. Sometimes the Maestro going brr with the Alder, but the FO12 is just as good a candidate. And those Grishmots as well make it all the more difficult for any sort of attacker trying to execute through that doorway. It's a much more kind of surprise moment than, say, the gas canisters that can come through in that sort of typical situation. Sparkin's going to be sticking onto that Ella as he shows the Bandit and decides to 6-pick onto it. We're going for a Trophy Statue defense, fairly normal site rotation here, and IQ being brought out by Shift.
I'm thinking Jaegers, it's not too important that they wrap up too many rounds to start with. As they're a team who focus on the defensive side of Villa a little bit more so than the attacking side. The previous engagement between the two teams in Play Day 8, Jaegers won 5 of their defensive rounds, which made a huge difference on this game, where Manic only got 2 themselves. So that was a big difference there in that game in particular, and Jaegers have shown they are a very good defensive lineup. Maybe just taking the 2 rounds here might just be enough to edge it, but it's going to be close. Yet again, we've seen Manic, when you give them the chance, when you bring it that close, they will take you all the way.
I like the Maverick in this situation. Certainly it's not the best option when you're attacking AVG, because you may want to gain entry to Vault rather than just creating the sightline, but here the sightline is really all that matters. That being said, Manic have set up interestingly because they have decided to extend into Master Bedroom and Closet, and they have that wall already open anyway, so not much use out of the Maverick for this round, most likely regardless. Sparkin's in this advanced position. He's got a shield set up with presumably a couple of ADS and that FO12 in hand, which can do nasty stuff, as we already have seen. Drones are coming through, and it's just a matter of time, really, before we get an explosive start. But that being said, the Mantas is on the hunt in this middle floor, with Textrolo lurking just beneath.
Ooh. Yes, he's very close to the angles that are open across. Just waiting, biding his time. There's no real need to aggress it. There's a lot of men there waiting for him. Checking out on the drones, it looks clear. Smart, quick play from Jaegers to identify that's the case and then make their move. But it's a very strong walk-in closet hold. ADS's shields the like with the supporting player across bathroom. I haven't seen this this sort of setup in quite some time. It's the sort of thing Lions Creed were running in the final last season in quite some time, and it's not working out brilliantly for Sparkins so far. He's on very low health. Thankfully, Robert has come along to support as well. So many players here on the east. You wonder how that vertical might be impacted. Maybe a miracle play from Demantas, but right now it's coming down to, will Jaegers be ready for the 3 men that await them within these windows?
No immediate push following that burn means those ADSs will have reset. We see Robert forced back into sight, leaving Sparkins on his lonesome. Don't know about that bathroom player, though. Instinct also abandoning ship, and that means Sparkins is free for the taking. Big Dave just swings in with the Commando and does it. The Mantis coming out, Astro says, almost gets Instinct by surprise, but the time is just not there. Robert swinging back into Master Bedroom with the Deagle, takes out Hazard, but he's met by Big Dave yet again, putting that Commando to good work. Demantas is in sight now, and he's holding down this doorway. He knows that they want to retake through statue door. Shift finally takes out Instinct. Triple on the round from the man. Textrolo goes down. That's a Jaeger. Oh, Demantas steals his kill. No ace available for you anymore. Aslan in the refrag. Shift has not. Oh, Shift is not happy about that, and that might have given Aslan some hope in this as he takes down Tazzy.
No.
Shift can get a 4K, but he's going to have to justify that team kill as Pause is now setting down Diffuser. Aslan has a C4, but there's no way of destroying it from beneath as he's on a indestructible ground rather. Shift falling back. He's hungry for this 4K, understandably. He needs to settle his nerves. Pause falling back into Master Bedroom. Finds that camera. Nothing really leveraged from that by Team Manic. That could have been their downfall, but we'll see after this round as Aslan is still trying to clutch it out with 27 seconds left. Everyone is fleeing. We see Shift head down Astro's stairs. Pause is outside at this point. There's an opportunity to try and long arm this potentially, but no, he's aware of the player inside a closet it is, and now Pause is close by. Shift coming up behind. Surely has this for free. He does, and that's a quad kill rather, on the round after being denied it. We'll call it a glorified ace after the down.
An ace with the team kill.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, he does get his 5th kill of the round. That is fair.
I mean, it's very surprising. Hazard's usually the one stealing people's kills on this Jaegers lineup, but there we go. Demantas being punished. Jaegers, though, were not punished for that team kill indiscretion. They still come out on top, and somewhat kind of a motivational factor to some degree. Maybe a bit of a... we've seen a lot of... what's the nice way of saying it? Banter in the chat so far already on Villa, trying to unnerve their opposition. That could have an element of it as well. Jaegers equalised the score, 1-1 now. One more, they'll be quite comfortable on the attacking side, but I don't think they'll be quite happy enough even with that yet. They're going to go for it here on Dining, which Manic are opting for. No reattempt of that top floor, no lounge strat that's opted for. We're going for... Oh dear. Yes, we're going for it.
Chat.
He is. He's angry all the time.
Well, there may be a mutiny on its way.
I should send Shiro. I forgot. I said this to you as a joke ages ago, Jerry. Having the player stats alongside their pictures. I got Jaegers to draw some pictures of themselves for the streets. I'll send them to Shira. We'll get that up soon.
Oh, yeah. I would love to see that. That'd be beautiful.
Yeah.
Are there any really good artists on Jaegers?
No, it was all Shift.
Brilliant. that play, the team kill, reminded me of a couple of days ago in EUL. I think secretly, he got so annoyed that one of his teammates on G2 was it G2? Am I being completely an idiot? I can't remember. On his team, he was annoyed that his teammate stepped in a frost mat, so he decided to kill him, and then immediately died and took it to a 2 versus 1 instead of the 4v1. We've got a push going on here. It doesn't matter really because the rush is coming in. Oh no! Okay, Aslan and Sparkin slap back. We have a round on our hands, E-back.
We do. I was looking for a picture of Tazzy, but currently they've been rushing on in. I missed the whole thing. They've rushed straight through to dining. They've taken the full site control, and again Aslan's in a 1 versus X. He finds Shift this time, almost the second onto Demantas, but he just gets away, and it's easy enough for Tazzy with that call to swing on the Mozzie. Jaegers take their second round so very quickly.
Over in a flash. What on earth was that? Cairo. Our poor observer having a real time of it today. Because these rushes and these unpredictable players are coming in thick and fast from Jaegers for the most part. And I mean, it's terrifying. Flores has to be 6 picked off. I did warn Jaegers that this is, he can't be played. So they should know, right?
Yeah.
If he starts the round, he has to be TK'd. So, okay. Yep. Tell them. Yep. Okay, come on. Yep. Use the 6 pick. Come on. Okay, so this is going to be a 4v5. And, whether Tamantas did a random pick or whether... I don't know. No, it did look like a random pick. I don't know. Either way, that's going to happen. So, yeah, Jaegers, they're having to shoot themselves in the foot for this round, or specifically Demantas in the head.
I don't think they know that, because I've seen a lot of Flores plays. Oh, okay, well, they're just morons then. No real surprise with Jaegers, but there you go.
That? Have there been Flores plays yesterday?
No, there weren't.
Okay, fair enough. Alright, well,
thankfully. There's a Kaid, though, which is interesting, given the fact that he wasn't around last time. And he'll be quite an impactful player here on this site. He's got a C4 as well, which was a bit of a menace for Jaegers, and it has been in the previous couple of games. I feel like that does tell a story, though, of teams who are... Why didn't you say anything when we banned him? Thought it was a joke.
Yeah, I actually did go into their match chat and tell them that...
Nice.
I went into their match chat and told them at the start of the game, like last match, when they banned Flores. So clearly they just haven't read that, which is hilarious. Anyway, that aside, Jaegers, they're in a 4 versus 5. They still have the tools necessary to try and get this done, let's be honest. They've got all the soft breach. They've got enough destruction to get through this particular lineup because there isn't a prevalence of shields or catching utility, only the one shield and the ADS. Their main concern here is, as always, this aggression that's going to be brought out from Manic with the intel that they have and the C4s at their disposal. So do they read into this? Do they clear those evil black eyes rather? Certainly with the IQ it should be a lot easier. But there's still one in Astro.
Oh, Shiro has no idea why I sent him the pictures. clearly watching Poland in the Euros right now. Anywho, Jaegers, they've got to do a better job than last time. They really didn't clear out these roamers. They left it far too late. They were in a weakened position. Those C4s were a big issue. And it was even in the game that we didn't see in Playday 8 that was off stream. They clearly had a lack of roaming. Oh, roaming clear. Thankfully, Aslan is down. A close engagement for Pause, but just wins it out, equalizes the man count. And actually, given that Robert's now, this time around, backed off to the site, we've actually got a 4 versus 4 in a decent position for Jaegers now with the amount of time remaining.
And the real key here is that Robert has come under some pressure inside of Study, which is great for a minute left on the clock. Robert taking the brunt of a bit of impact there, but Shift... he's just walked into sight and he's found 1, found 2, but he's downed by Robert. There we go. The Valkyrie coming into her own. Texrolo finds Hazard as well, and it's a 2 versus 2. He gets the second as well, Robert. Pause falls, and now it's all up to Tazzy in the 1 versus 2. This has come to life so quickly for both sides, and now Jaegers, they have it all on the Nomad. Robert swings again and gets a triple kill. All the work in that round being done by him and the Jaeger. Fantastic hold inside of Study by the Valkyrie.
Yeah, he's been brilliant today. Some great stuff on Cafe in particular, stepping up when his team need it here on Villa as well. That's 2 aviator holds, very, very strongly done. They adjusted from last time, despite the fact they didn't really need to, and still came out on top. It's just the other sites. Those are the questions. They had some real issues on Trophy, despite the fact that Jaegers, they pushed it relatively late, and then suddenly they move in and they're in a great position within about 10 seconds. That's been the difference. And then, of course, that rush of dining has seen Manic have some issues. They're going for the trophy reattempt. They don't want to deal with any of those antics downstairs yet again. Their setup was good, and I'm wondering how much you change that if you're Instinct.
I'm not sure you do. At the moment, they have the Ella dropped in favour of, I'm not quite sure exactly what I don't believe they had on Mozzie on their previous defense, so it might be that. Or maybe it was the Kaid, because they are going to be locking up shop instead on this trophy defense. So they want that triple wall electrocuted. Can't quite remember if they brought that last time round. But either way, they're extending on this top floor towards AVG, and it is just AVG. That's the abbreviation of both sites. I was like, AVG is Aviator. But what is that other room? No, it's Aviator Gaming. Good one, Jerry.
Yeah, me. Anywho, Jaegers, they're blasting on in from the east side, same as last time, and very similar plan from Manic as well. They were, of course, aware of the roaming player last time. I believe it was Text Rolo lingering around in the basement. He's in the same spot yet again. Shift. He's slinked on right past. No engagement until Robert comes down from the bottom of red stairs. Didn't see that coming.
Hello. That was a nice surprise, and Shift is gone. No refragability because he was just basically crouch walking up red, which is, I guess, you can call it a strat. It's being very generous, but you might want to call it a strat.
I mean, if Manic had a team plan, Jerry, from the last round, it would be take down Shift, because he got that, I guess, technical ace during the round, 4 of them being onto the opposition team, and he's a great man to shut down this early. I don't know quite what he was doing, wandering in that haphazardly, but he's been punished for it.
So Robert and Aslan are effectively trying to protect the breach here. Robert gets a C4 kill onto the bathroom player, and that just spells disaster for the remaining 3 players of Jaegers. They've got very little hope here. They know that there's some intel coming through. It might have just been a call from Textrolo, but either way, Hazard needs to do something about it. The defenders fall back as they should be in this position, just taking their time. But that said, Robert has managed to take a gunfight and lose it as Paws takes his head clean off 3 versus 4. Now Sparkins is going to swing. Oh, he spots the player far and decides not to commit to the bathroom stall swing or the shower swing. Sparkins, though, taking out Tazzy and Paws' response onto Instinct, 2 versus 3. And the pieces are slowly falling on the side of Manic, but Jaegers on this attack still have a lot to do. Aslan with another C4 into bathroom, but Sparkins has gone down. An effective 1 versus 2, but Sparkins has the opportunity to get res. Paws with an almost perfect nade as the ADS has caught it, but Sparkins does fall on the flea. Textrolo and Aslan both still up. Paws in 1 versus 2 has defuse in hand with 52 seconds left. Defenders are repositioning. Aslan is right by this breach hole, and he's got to be worried here. Luckily for him, it's still a 90-degree angle playable. Paws does take a lot of damage as he tries to cross into Astro. Now on about 1 bullet left. In terms
He's not
of
got
HP.
too much time, but it's a decent amount of time.
That's it.
Yeah. Aslan is there to seal the round for Team Manic. They win it out. No Shift, no problem, it seems, on their trophy haul this time around. 1 final round remaining on this defensive half. Can they take it to the 4-2, have that strong advantage, or will they fall? Will it be a 3-3 split? Got to try and take that advantage as much as possible. Of course, we didn't see much of dining. It was tough to tell what happened in that particular situation. So this round should play out rather differently.
Yeah, we saw so little of dining that I thought we were on round 4, and my notes were all wrong. I just had to do a load of rubbing out. This is now round 6. 3-2 the scoreline. And again, Manic going down to dining. They have this pulse in play, which will hopefully give them a little bit more of a read on the strategy that Jaegers are going for. This is almost a necessity, and I was surprised. I believe we didn't see it come through for Manic on their previous dining defense. Correct me if I'm wrong. it just seems like you absolutely need a pulse in this day and age, because on this site, the rush strategy is so viable. Once you get a couple of bodies into the site, then you've got a lot of cover to play with. You've only got a couple of real possible retake positions, and they're both very small doorways with a lot of kind of disadvantageous gunfights coming through them. And yeah, you just need that pre-warning. You need a couple of C4s on your lineup as well, and they've gone for 4 in total from Manic, just to stem the tide of any sort of default top 4 push that comes through. My concern is that Jaegers decide we're going to go for a south side push, but that concern is subverted immediately as we see them all spawning around the site. Very direct push, looks like it's going to come through.
Except for Shift, he loves wandering around by himself, it seems.
Have someone to take out the opposite side of the map default,
yeah,
right?
It's fair.
Yeah.
That is what he's good for. Haha.
And that's it.
Anyway, very I mean, he would disagree, and so would his record.
He's 8 and
so
4.
far
Right? I'm
already
picking the worst target
on this map.
The worst target for 8 and 4. Like...
He's having a pretty good time here so far. Got to try and pull it even. This is a very impactful round within this game, I think. If Manic have similar attacking issues as they had on Cafe, they will need this defensive round when Jaegers come onto the defensive side, because they very, very rarely give you a way in here on Villa. Big Dave already taken the ground, so actually already taken by Demantis and the rest of the team. It's pretty much afforded to them because Manic is sitting so deep. It does mean that all of those C4s in hand can be useful, and all the calls are going to be coming out from that pulse of instinct. But missed. That's 1 gone. Actually 2. I believe Sparkins missed his. No, Robert had already used his in the past. No damage dealt. Jaegers, they'll be pretty happy with that. Still 2 remaining, but 1 of them is in the hands of Aslan, and he's not even in the sight.
Yeah, 0 for 2 is not a good hit rate on your C4s that early on, and they're making it very tough here, Jaegers, for the defenders to play in any meaningful spots, as all of the vertical destruction is coming through very early in the round by most markers. You usually see a bit more roaming presence to deny this top 4 control, but Manic decided they want to play the full C4 game, and it's not paying off. So it's beginning to become an inhospitable environment down there. Has to try and spot some of these C4s preemptively, perhaps, and scanning out for any black eyes, trying to read into where the defense is most heavily fortified. But they need picks, and they need them soon as we enter 50 seconds remaining. Because really, after a while, you can just hole up and hold those angles on the side of Team Manic.
Yeah, they're defending quite externally. You can see lots of split presence on multiple staircases. Pantry stairs, red stairs, lounge presence as well. They are ready to pinch, and Jaegers might just be caught within that pinch. That sounded a bit weird. Anyway, Demantis, he finds the entry onto Sparkins. It gives them that refrag advantage if they do just go on in and drop. He's staying above alongside Tazzy. It's down to the other 3 men to push on in. Pause is already in the middle of the site. He's planting as Hazard is taken out with a C4. But Big Dave is down, so is Pause. The defuse could happen. There's no one there to get onto that position. Can Tazzy find him? No! He's located by Robert, sweeping around upstairs. Very simple from Manic to collapse on those remaining players. Tazzy having a bit of a nightmare up there on the top floor. But either way, Manic, they come ahead with a 4-2 advantage at the split.
That was a brilliant play from Team Manic. Excellent calls, excellent coordination. They really didn't get much out of the C4 game there, but they stayed alive, and that was key. They dispersed. It was almost like watching the final minute or so of a cafe kitchen defense, but we were on Villa instead. And they just sort of left that area that becomes really difficult to hold down in, because the ceiling's Swiss cheese at that point. Played the long angles, waited for the push to come in, waited for the plant to come in even, and got all the frags they needed in the post plant. Wonderful stuff from them, and it's given them a rather healthy 4-2 split as we now move on to Jaegers' notorious defensive half.
Well, we'll see if it lives up to the fame. Struggling so far on Villa to put too much together. You can only put so much down to history. It's all down to the present right now, and maybe a bit of the future as well. We'll just have to wait and see. What do they got? They got a lot of good stuff. Lots of variety. It's looking good. Very colourful.
From you.
I know, it wasn't a laugh, that's why.
Oh, I see. I thought it was like Nelson from The Simpsons impression, but he's like, I don't know, Hi. Oh, ha. How you doing, Ebac?
I'm tired.
I'm also pretty tired. Let's take this down tempo. I remember a couple of
Can it go lower?
there was a
That's, I swear
badass
it, the
University
metronome
All-Stars
drops off at about
Yeah.
48 beats per minute.
there was yeah, it just stops working. It leans to one side and it just stays there. There was a BUAL cast I did with Whippet a couple of months ago where we just decided at one point that we were going to do it as a kind of like
ASMR.
late night, well, not quite ASMR. It was more like kind of late night smooth radio.
Oh, yeah.
And it was honestly one of the most enjoyable things I've ever done. It was so
Or we'll
relaxing.
go for the complete opposite. Well, Team Manic, they're making a great ingress here across the northeast side, injecting a bit of action to this game. So many drones around this position, and Demantas is right in the midst of it. Thankfully, he has the support of the mute here.
Shut out.
Oh my!
That is mental. I can't believe that many drones have been shot out so quickly. Demantas is getting every single one of them. He's 2 for 2 right now. Robert coming up Astro stairs, forcing Demantas back into trophy. The gunfight's going to happen soon, and it's Robert that wins it. A headshot instantly comes out, but the wall bang comes through. Wait, was that a team down? It might not have been a team down. Either way, Aslan and Big Dave get kills and deaths between them. Hazard dies. This is all actually action. I don't feel like I should be faking this enthusiasm.
I don't know why you
Genuinely
are,
exciting.
Jerry. I was incredibly genuine during mine. It's a 4 versus 2. Kills and deaths indeed, as you said, but most of them falling in the favor of Team Manic. They've got a strong advantage. It's the same as the round count, which is definitely positive for them if they want to extend it. 5-2 they're eyeing up, but Tazzy, he is in 90, providing a lot of side presence, but they are very easily pinchable here. Team Manic are smart. They will send maybe a player, maybe even 2 round, going straight forward for the push, trying to push Tazzy out, and they certainly do. He takes cover behind the shield. Very slow, very cautious here from Team Manic, which definitely can work for them. It's smart with a 4 versus 2 advantage, but it does mean that Jaegers, they could just make it happen with the clock.
This is a one-directional push coming through from Manic, and they have 4 versus 2, so really stacking in through that vault door is probably the way to go, or rather the skull door into B. Instead, they decide to pair up, play for these refrags. Pause gets 1 and a second. That's the double kill they needed to turn it round, and now the numbers are suddenly even. Tazzy drops back into sight. Textrodo and Aslan both pushing that side instead. Now they are split up. Great down coming through from Textrodo onto Tazzy. He will secure that kill, but with 14 seconds left, Pause is deciding to rotate. He tries to catch the player in bar from behind. He sees the head, and he's undiscovered. Aslan trying to stick the diffuser down behind that. No, it's on the bomb, and he manages to get the kill onto Textrodo. Does he expect the off-angle plant? Yes, he does. He lands a lot of shots onto Aslan. It might not be enough, and he catches him out. The quad kill from Pause in the 2 versus 4. He gets the clutch, a few squats for good measure, and now he has plenty of time to get that defuse and set Jaegers Esports off to the races on their defensive half.
Well, it was incredible from Pause. It was exactly the sort of play that we know that he can do. That's why he's one of the highest fraggers in the league this season.
You said it, Ebac!
Anywho, Pause. Absolutely fantastic play. Woo indeed. Maybe even add a who on top for excitement. 3-4 now it reads for Jaegers. A lot more favourable given that 2 versus 4 situation. Really pulled it back well, and it's exactly what I said that might happen. Playing into the hands of Pause there, Team Manic, they just took too long. They had so much time. They could be slow. They could be intentional with their play and making sure they're refragging. But the later they leave it, the more opportunities there is for chaos. And it means you have to rush that plant, and it means that the 2 players can't pinch the final man. They have to then plant and protect, which gives him that ever so slight chance. And you give Pause a chance in a game like this, he will step up and take it. They certainly do. That's a defensive win on the first attempt for Jaegers. Despite it, I mean, how impactful could that be as this game goes on?
Could be very impactful. I'm reeling from finding another level to my voice I didn't know I had. Now I think it's I need to take a
Never be the same again.
Yeah.
We've uncovered a new Jerry.
Is this my final form? I do not know. Anyway, I'll see. I'll give it a few more test rides, I think. Anyway, that was fun. A shout more. Pause is on a tear. That was such a great round from him. Honestly, in the 2 versus 4, I really didn't expect Manic to kind of slip up like that. Honestly, that was a bit of a gift from them. If you thinking about it, I was not surprised to see them go into pairs like that, but I feel as though sending 3 through Skull Door might actually have worked out better, because then at least you get the refrag onto the Jaeger. Shift has opened the scoring early in this round, finding a pick through the floor onto the laundry doorway. Now that is a great angle to be held, but surely that should have been punished by a bedroom window player on the attack. Hazard takes out Robert, and this attack has fallen apart very quickly.
Yeah, again, I mean, it's almost like a reverse of Jaeger's weird attack of dining earlier on. They blasted in, got a big advantage.
Oh, no.
Well,
What?
you know,
Again?
Manic have blasted in, but they've been blasted themselves. Big Dave takes Sparkins from above. No vertical presence from Manic. They went very direct, but it's not worked out for them in the slightest. And now it's basically down to Jaegers to throw this one away.
I can't even remember who it was that died at the very start, but did he just, like, skip the kill cam and not say that there was a player in Master Bedroom? Either way, that's a shutout from... Oh, nice little tap there at the end from the SMG-11, but...
Yeah, the advantage is gone! It's gone!
Such a write-off. Yeah, all the hard work that...
Flash, and the advantage is gone.
Yeah, that's crazy. All the hard work they put up in the defensive half is now just gone, and... While the last round was a real slog at the end, and it relied on a really big clutch coming through from Pause, that was just pedestrian.
ECS, sponsored by Bleach.
Seal it back. Oh, man. Can you imagine?
I would love it. I'm so ready to be sponsored. I feel like my whole life has been lived to be a sponsor. I'd do it to my friends and family. Family. It'd be a great time. Just just irritating everyone.
Your endless advertising of Corsair in that bit you did was one of my favourite things. So yeah.
Oh dear.
If we can get that'd be brilliant. We just send them that, and then be like, "Hey, you want to sponsor?"
Oh yeah, maybe.
Like a
yeah.
Spokesperson.
Mm-hmm.
We have someone who's mad about Corsair.
I'm mad about anything if you'll pay me money. Anyway, here we are. I mean, that's why I'm here in ECS. Anyway, making the big bucks. Dining will...
Oh, yeah.
Wait, no, we're not dining.
We're setting ourselves up for an early retirement here.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Big ECS pension. That's why...
So many perks. People don't really know this, but you get a company car when you sign up to cast with us. Quick disclaimer, you don't. Okay, this is a joke. This is a bit. Alright. There's a game on. And it could explode at any moment, because right now, Jaegers are playing. And Demantas have found Robert again. The opening frag going the way of defenders, and it's just not being punished by Team Manic. This could be the beginning of the end here. That's a fairly useless camera. Unfortunate.
It's the supporting players as well for Jaegers that are popping off right now. A bit of a Shire show from Demantas, Hazard, the players who were getting 18 kills apiece on... I mean, I say that, he gets another lovely pick. But at least numbers-wise, not quite as high as we saw. It's been Big Dave and Paws rocking up the numbers right now. Really having a good time across the board. Obviously, they still are only even. They've got to make sure they can carry this momentum through. They certainly have into this round. 3 men trying to fight things back, but they've not even... They barely stepped foot inside the map yet. We're halfway through.
It was a Shire show.
A Shire show.
You mean that...
As in, it's more
like
shy, not it's in the country.
Shire. Okay, yes, I get you. I thought it was a reference to Shia LaBeouf or The Hobbit or something. Anyway, Instinct manages to take
like a
down
Shire
the Oryx.
horse.
It was just... Yeah. Shire...
It's like an eventing thing, maybe. I don't know. It's definitely not.
No. We'll work it out afterwards. I feel like there's potential. We're on the brink of a pun.
Yeah.
I think it needs more work. It's in the workshopping phase.
Yeah.
We'll get there. We've got time. But this is part of the process, everyone.
Something to do with shooting or at a coconut shy. There's something in there.
There's the potential for several layers here.
Definitely.
Nothing's happening.
No, Manic. I mean, it's a summation of their attack in general. Is slow, bimbly. They've not offered anything, and Jaegers have had the response every single time. Manic, they started really well on that attacking side. I feel like they've actually been really impacted by Pause's comeback in that previous round. It seems to have really struck them back. And with that map already against them that was so close to being theirs as well, they seem to be really just sad and a bit worried about this situation. And they eye up Hazard, but don't manage to take any shots. The blowtorch in hand does not do the trick to take down the Jaeger. And the smoke canister will get the better of Aslan. 4 versus 2, 5 seconds left. Instinct is for the taking. Who's going for it? It's the Jaeger, doesn't get one. The second is missed, and here comes the third. Not enough time for him to rack up his kills. But still the round, of course, in the way of Jaeger. Hard work done pretty early by Demantas.
Some very impactless kills at the end there as Jaegers decided to throw themselves into the meat grinder, but they made it themselves. That was a real meat grinder of their own making in Laundry for the side of Team Manic. It was just a horrible last 20 seconds or so, mainly off the back of a very shallow, shy, tame... where's my thesaurus? Toothless mid-round coming out from Manic. They didn't achieve anything with that vertical destruction, and it was just like you heard us wittering on about Shia LaBeouf and hobbits and coconuts and crap, and it's like right then I think Jaegers were probably doing the same. They were like, planning their weekend, trying to keep up on the football. It was so easy for them. It's weird. This whole match feels like an anticlimax now because Jaegers are just making it look easy.
Well, that's the thing. We said it in the map picks when we were looking at that right at the beginning. We said it favors Jaegers more and more as it goes on. It goes from stronger to stronger map. And going for Cafe, it makes sense if you just look at this season in isolation because Jaegers hadn't played Cafe at all, so that's a question mark for them. But if you look in ECS past, with even ever so slightly changing Jaegers rosters, whatever it is, whoever's playing, whether it be Kaizmo or the more recent players like Shift, they're still strong on Cafe. They can always do the job. It's just not necessarily their favorite. They've shown it very well here. And Villa, defensive side, they look absolutely unbeatable right now. Manic really not offering up very much since that first attacking round. They still didn't even take.
They're keeping Manic on their toes as well with the defensive lineup. They're bringing that Echo. I want to say that this is going to be fairly ineffective just because of the presence of the IQ. She should really spot out that Echo drone, and that will probably go down fairly quickly. But can't do that if she's dead. And Demantas will take Robert's head clean off. Now that Echo Drone will probably get a fair bit of value. Demantas isn't done yet as he pixel peeks, but the pixel's being held against him. Big Dave upstairs will find Extrolo, and Instinct is there with the instant refrag onto Closet.
Did he try and do a steno just there?
I think he might have.
Inside a walk-in. I think it might have worked. He definitely got him the first kill, but the second is there for the refrag. Of course, that happening against his team. He wasn't there at the time, but I'm sure he knows. They tell horror stories about it at the campfires at Jaegers retreats. Anyway, 1 minute 30 remains for Team Manic to hold off match point. 3-3, decent position. They've got a long amount of time. The C4 already used by Pause as well. I don't believe it's a pre-placed one. Look at that lovely factory skin there. A nice custom one that Pause is running on the LFP. Got to put it to use, though.
Oh
no, it was pre-plays!
Fire under Instinct's butt right now. And you can roast some s'mores on his burning corpse as the Jaegers, they get even more excited about their retreat. The Echo Drone is finally dealt with. Aslan and Sparkin's now left in this horrible position. They lost a 4 versus 2 from this position last time. Can they win a 2 versus 3? There's very little hope as Aslan is now backing away. It looks like he wants to try and get out and apply some pressure to study. With about 50 seconds left, this is certainly the play to go for.
Well, this is the smart push they could have done last time when they had a 4v2 advantage.
Yes.
It's strange to see it coming out in a 2 versus 3. That's probably the option where you think you might just go for a slightly more direct move with 2 players. A lot of reliance upon each player. Gotta say, they could have used an IQ for that pre-play C4. Some early plays really punished there by Robert being a little bit... I've forgotten the word, careless, over-aggressive. Either way, that doesn't work out for Pause. He holds a close angle. Aslan, though, his position is known. Thanks to Pause, he gives that call as Hazard picks up the other kill. Tazzy responsible for the last. Jaegers are on match point.
Oh, very nice pre-fire there after getting the red ping, expecting the movement and securing the final frag. So tasty stuff. Jaegers Esports again making these defenses look easy with the with the exception of that clutch at the very start. Okay, they are actually calling for a pause now.
It's actually a... yeah.
Right, okay, well that's just confusing, right? Pause, what do you want? So Tixtolo is going to be leaving for a moment, just going to be resetting his game, presumably so that he can get some audio. Cairo, yes, understandably, is a bit confused. We may well come back to our faces fairly shortly, but for the time being, we can look at this lineup, try and understand what Jaegers are going for with a trophy defense and an Ella, Goyo, O'Rooney, Smokey Jaeger. I'm fully expecting a heavy closet hold this time round from them. That switch to a Kaid, though, is an interesting one. Maybe, I mean, it could go either way. The Ella can work in any direction. The main thing is they don't have the intel gathering that, say, a Valkyrie or a Mozzie would give you to enable you to play C4s from beneath. So I'd expect that they're not shutting up shop and playing beneath, but instead doing that closet hold like I thought they would.
Surprised we're not seeing a clash yet. Very useful here, in particular on trophy and stat tree as well. Given the prominence displayed by Shift at the very beginning of Cafe, that's a question mark. Right now, they're just taking a time as like coming up with counter strats. I imagine that's somewhat what Team Manic are doing. Match point against them. It's a bit of a timeout, bit of time to think about what their strategy is. They're 2 rounds away from taking it to overtime. They were in this situation. Well, were they in this situation? They were in a very close situation anyway. Last time around, it wasn't. It was 5-all. But either way, 2 rounds. They bring it to overtime. They can take this back. Oregon is still very much on the cards, but we need a complete shift around. I feel like the difference is just entries.
Yeah, it seems like most of those initial fights are going the way of Jaegers, and there's just a couple of things that are going unnoticed. That last round, for instance, with the IQ just being completely unaware of the player on Astro stairs for the opening frag there. Why aren't you droning that? How have you not droned out Astro on that kind of approach? It just seems like Manic... It was the same story on Cafe. They're missing a couple of the fundamentals in terms of droning these initial positions out so that the entry can actually be in their favor. And it's costing them round after round. And now Jaegers sitting on their... Wait. Yeah, they are on match point. That's happened. This is going by so quick.
It has
gone by so quick.
It's
oh my goodness.
flown on by. And that's partially due to quite a few quick rounds in general. Jaegers rushing on in, whether they're dying or winning some of those attacks, or Team Manic just losing men straight away at the beginning. Lots of downtime in the middle. I feel like the mid-round management has been where this game is lost for Manic if they do lose this out. We mentioned that on Cafe as well. There are adjustments after rounds, taking... Every 2 rounds, they do a bit of a switch or figure something out and change their play. Mid-round, they've lacked that. They haven't quite had the edge that Jaegers seem to have this time around. And kill-wise, it's been a bit better. They have stepped up to their opposition to some degree, but it's still quite not enough. Again, that sort of blunt analogy, it makes a lot of sense. When did this map have a heli? Always.
Wait, does it?
Yeah, down in the gate, down there. Have you never run out into the spawn as a defender on secure area?
No, I haven't.
That's my siege experience.
I haven't played secure area since like
Ranked,
there was that
secure
event.
area.
There was the event recently with no setup phase, and it was secure area, and I can't remember what it was called.
Is that
was
the
really
Outback
fun,
one?
Yeah, that was
Played
it.
it
You could
once.
move it around. That was awesome. The container one.
It's never been the same since the Wild West one. I love that, running around the LFP.
I think my favorite event game mode was Grand Larceny. Honestly, destroying
Yeah.
the entire map and hunting for those things was the funniest thing ever. Playing like vertical angles across an entire old Hereford, making people fall 4 floors when they rappel in.
It's also very
man.
good because I got to flex my Hereford strats in general, as I don't get to do very often. Thankfully,
great.
Barn Burners were there to help me out in the ECS staff match last season. There is one this season apparently, but I don't think we have any staff, so we'll have to wait and see. 1 minute 30 has hit the time for this round. Team Manic, they've got to make this happen. They've made some decent ingress, they've taken some ground, but no players dealt with. Lots of sneaky positions for these players to hide, and Hazard, despite this, the split from Manic is not happened across to Master, and Jaegers, they can hold that ground very comfortably and have that as an extra rotate. The C4s avail, actually no C4s avail, it's just pause actually, with one, but he is lingering underneath. He could potentially come across and get a C4 onto one of these landing players as they hold these angles. It's now or never for Manic, or they have lost the entire series.
There's so much utility sitting on the side of Team Manic, but they just don't seem to be using it. But Instinct is the one that finds the first frag onto Hazard quite crucially from this bedroom position. A good crossfire being set up by these attackers. Demantas takes a lot of damage. He's got the Scorpion in hand, no longer on that FO12. Got a lot of red pings onto the players pushing from that south side, and Aslan is going to get a kill from said position. Now we can finally start using those lifelines as well. Like I said, so much utility sitting in their hands, but as he tries to use it, he gets taken down. It ends up killing him. Pause finds that frag. Robert now taking on to very low HP, but he will secure Demantas, and now it's a 2 versus 4 with Pause and Shift. Just the last one's alive. Robert will take out Pause. All up to Shift now as Diffuser can start to be set down. He's got to play a very close and one on Master Bedroom window. Surely he is dead meat if his position is found out. He's got to play right behind him. There we go. Instinct cleans up shop, and the lack of knowledge comes and works against them. Finally, we see a very coherent attack formed by Team Manic.
And the main difference was Instinct there. We spoke about mid-round adjustments. They left the presence so that Jaegers thought they were safe over by Master and sent a man round with an AK-12, and he did a brilliant job. Just suddenly changed Jaegers' plan, because Jaegers adjusted mid-round to take that ground and hold it quite comfortably. Obviously, with those Aruni gates set on Master, they didn't expect the lack of presence. Manic, again, outplaying their opposition strategy-wise. That made the big difference. Is Shiro showing you because you're picking your nose?
I don't know.
Wouldn't be the first time in ECS history. Or it's just Shiro having a mistake. I don't know. He's done it before.
This is really weird what we've gone to as well, Shiro. I don't like that.
No, that's horrible. Let's not do that again.
I'm going to call you out on that. But yeah, that was a strange one, because honestly, mid-round, we saw Team Manic have a lot of weird usage of utility. We saw, for instance, Robert spending a frag grenade to burn a Surya gate when he has the Yana Geminis in pocket, clearly prioritizing that intel gathering, but he could also see that there was a bulletproof camera right on the other side of it. So why not burn the gate with the Gemini and then destroy the camera? Like, that's surely the better play. I don't know. It didn't look like he even followed it up with a Gemini to gather the intel either. So yeah, just puzzling from my perspective. And we saw also a lot of utility left in the hands of the Zofia at the very end before she had died. So if Team Manic had lost that round, then that's exactly what you can pin it on. So very, very strange one. They still managed to claw it out, and it's because of that repositioning. Like you said, Instinct did a wonderful job getting onto that Master Bedroom balcony and grabbing a few key frags.
6-5. Jaegers still on series point. They could take their second map here with a win. But Team Manic now on overtime point as well. Just one round away from having a little bit more of a cushion. Demantas is fully distracted by that Gemini. You think he might have learned by now, but Robert, simple trick. And they take down that entry fragging demon. Demantas, he seems to be only capable of getting those entries at the moment. And when he's not had them, he's just been taken out easily.
Yeah, 7 and 10 is not a stat line that you're used to seeing on Demantas, but luckily for him, Pause and Shift have stepped it up this game. 6-5, though, is much closer than our prediction. We were thinking, oh, this is Jaegers in the bag. And Team Manic, well, they've managed to grab that crucial attacking round, but they've left it very late to grab their last one. And it's all or nothing right now. Do or die, otherwise they're going to be dumped very unceremoniously out of these finals with a 2-0 loss. They need to turn it around here. They're doing that right now with some interesting droning, or, well, efficient droning through this middle floor. They're aware of potential of players far on that north side. Maybe they know, maybe they don't know that Hazard is playing beneath. That C4 comes out, I believe that is from Hazard. Pause and Demantas also have one in their pockets each. And
it's very slow. Again,
progress, yeah.
Slow. And the final kill in their Playday 8 appearance was a double C4 kill from underneath on this site by Demantas. Of course, he's not in play, but Hazard is there with one in hand. Pause, I imagine he'll have one pre-placed as well, potentially. But, an aggressive move from Aslan is punished. Pause gets one, Tazzy the other, and one more for Tazzy. Thankfully, Text Rolo stems the bleeding somewhat. He shuts down Hazard. 3 versus 2 for Jaegers. 50 seconds left. Robert and Text Rolo, the two gunners so far today for Team Manic, stand between them and defeat. And now it's all down to Text Rolo. Tazzy finds a triple for the round and finds Jaegers to a second map win in a row and all the way to the ECS Grand Final.
And it's there that they will face XCGG, who managed to win yesterday against Lions Creed, setting up for a fantastic final between the top two teams in the major division from the regular season. It's basically as even as you can possibly make it. Jaegers, they do have a slightly less than perfect record, but after shutting out Manic in a 2-0, they're now the only team in these finals that are yet to drop a map. Sure, they've only played one game, but it's still impressive.
Everybody but Shift managed to get 10 plus kills in one of those two maps. It was absolutely dominant on the side of Jaegers. Of course, there was a good amount of fight back. We took it to overtime and then very, very close again at the end. But it never quite seemed to go Manic's way. They never quite had that edge. It was more, they adjusted and did a really good job because something had already gone wrong. They were already in a bad enough position where it was too hard to turn around. A bit too close all the way. One or two luckier moments, a kill here and there, a funny moment, a mistake from Jaegers, and they would probably be in with a much closer chance. We might be going all the way to map 3, but no such thing. Jaegers, they're sitting in a great position. Can we have a look at that bracket, Shiro, and see how far these teams have come? Because it's pretty much gone the way that a lot of people might have expected, in that the two teams who qualified for the semi-finals have undone all the hard work of everybody else during the playoffs and have taken the final spot.
Yeah, you can see it just fell out right there. Jaegers Esports beating them 2-0. Interesting to look at this entire bracket and see that the only team that won a game as the lower seeded side were Lions Creed in that first quarterfinal. Everyone else has kind of stepped up and basically kind of played to the expectations that we had of them. That being said, Lions Creed finishing 5th is certainly subpar for them in a regular season. So we were expecting, many of us were expecting them to power on through the entire bracket right to the grand final. But XCGG, with their flawless record, have stood in the way of that. And now the final test for Jaegers Esports. Can they overcome the team that overcame the team that beat them in the grand final?
It's an overcoming of age story, I guess, for Jaegers in this
Perfect
situation.
For a campfire.
Yes, very good, very good. But, hopefully no more horror stories to come. A best of 5 final awaits on Sunday. That's going to be incredibly dramatic. But also the Saturday game. Don't forget about that. That's the 3rd place match between Lions Creed and this Team Manic team. It's a repeat of 2 seasons ago. And that went Lions Creed's way 2-1. And it was a very dramatic game. That was very exciting. Hoping we get something similar. And recall, I think the final that season when we saw that was Free Up Tom, Shreks and Hobbits. It's been quite a while. We've come a long way.
We have, and that game is no write-off either. We see maybe a little bit of memeing, but there is 125 euros on the line, so that third place spot certainly worth more than the fourth. But for the victors of the grand final, 450 euros is the reward this season. So definitely all to play for in that grand final, which will be a best of 5, not weighted. We got a whole single elimination bracket, so you end up with a full best of 5 at the end of the season. And I absolutely can't wait, because I can't think of two more deserving sides. This new roster to ECS that have come in the form of XCGG, stormed their way to the top of majors after a very dominant open qualifiers as well. And Jaegers Esports, the veterans of the league, the team that has stuck it out. Lions Creed, well, they may feel hard done by, but they've had a rough season in terms of sort of sorting themselves out and finding new places to go. It was sort of inevitable, but they're going to have their swan song on Saturday, and on Sunday we get that grand final. Ebac, do you have anything to say before we close out for the night?
Play Clash, you win. Proven right again. We'll see you next time.